Good afternoon.
I can set my timer to worst case scenario.
All right, we get all our members up here. Seems like we're waiting on California now.
Always waiting on California.
Sorry.
Mouth up.
Must be the time zone difference. All right. Hey, well, thank you. What an amazing turnout here. I'm Congressman G.T. Thompson. I have the honor and a privilege to serve as chair of the U.S. House Agriculture Committee, and really thrilled to be here to convene this Florida listening session. And I want to thank you all for joining us. Before we get started, in the tradition of this committee, and quite frankly, tradition many other places as well, will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance in a prayer. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Laura Brown, local 4-H, and the prayer will be led by FFA member Seth Ramsey.
If you'll please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you will, please bow while we pray. Lord, thank you for the bountiful harvest and abundant resources this country has experienced this past year and all the years before. Thank you for our ability to use your blessings wisely and to the best of our abilities. Lord, we come to you today to ask you to be with these representatives, help them to make the right decisions that will benefit everyone that works in the ag industry, and help them to be able to agree and make compromises to ensure the best possible outcome is achieved. Be with them as they leave here today to go back to Washington, D.C. and continue to serve our country, striving to make laws that will help us and not hinder us. This I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
How about a big hand for Laura, Seth, and all of our 4-H and FFA kids? Before we stepped out here to get this started, we were over in the kitchen side, and it was a packed house over there with 4-H and FFA kids, and it's just inspiring to see the future of America's #1 agriculture, and you could see that in the eyes of each and every one of them. So we're just so thankful for those programs and for their kids, for their parents, and for the leaders that make those programs so successful. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm thrilled to be in the Sunshine State for another great Farm Bill listening session. I hope you all need a little rain, because that tends to happen when we show up, and it was raining a little bit. I hope it rains enough to meet your needs. I'm G.T. Thompson, chairman of the House Committee on Agriculture, and I'm sure many of you know, the current Farm Bill is set to expire this year. Without a doubt, the most important part of the Farm Bill process is to hear from farmers, ranchers, foresters, producers, the folks of rural America, and quite frankly, the folks of urban America, because what we all do in agriculture touches the lives of each and every American family several times a day in many different ways. I also think that it touches the lives of many families around the world when you look at our exports and humanitarian assistance. As I like to believe that people with a full belly are less likely to engage in war and terrorism. So that makes all of you farmers a force for world peace, probably the most effective force for world peace. And so we're here to hear today what's working, what's not, and where you need the most support. There's a saying I learned BC, which could either be before Congress or before children. When it comes to public policy, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. Now, I know those of you who are farmers want to be on the menu, but that's not what I'm talking about here. But you are at the table today, and that's so greatly appreciated. I'd like to thank my esteemed colleagues for joining me here today, all great agriculture advocates, and we're ready to trade in our dress shoes for our work boots and And so I'd also would like to welcome Ms. Kat Cammack, Florida 3, Ms. Shelley Pingree from Maine 1, Mr. Austin Scott from Georgia 8, Mr. Doug LaMalfa from California 1, and Mr. Darren Soto from Florida 9. Like I've mentioned before, we're here to listen. I think that's why many of us got on the Agriculture Committee. We like to use what God's given us, and that's 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so we're going to be in a listening mode here. Now, due to time constraints, I'd like to ask our participants to keep their remarks 2 to 3 minutes so we can hear from as many folks as possible. We'll be relying on our moderator, Ms. Christy Shirelli of the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agriculture Sciences to keep us on time today as our moderator. Christy, thank you for all you do for agriculture, and thank you for your help here today. Yeah, give her a big hand. I'd like to assure you there'll be plenty more opportunities to share your feedback with us, and I look forward to hearing from you all. But be sure to grab a comment card from our staff, and if you'd like to share your feedback today. That said, if we are unable to get to you in the speaker's queue today, I encourage you to please submit your Farm Bill feedback by scanning the QR code at the welcoming table. And you can find it in a drop-down box as well on the website, not as easy as a QR code, but agriculture.house.gov. And with that, I'm going to kick things over to our member of Congress that's hosting us here in her congressional district, Congresswoman Cammack, for a few words.
Well, dang, Florida, y'all showed up and you showed out. Woo! I can't tell you how proud I was rolling up here and just seeing the trucks parked for as long as the fence ran. I have had the pleasure of showing my colleagues around the area. They've seen blueberries, they've seen melons, they were on a dairy earlier, and they have been getting a very small taste of all that Florida has to offer. So you being here today is just a continuation of that very vital component of education that goes into this Farm Bill. Before we jump into it, I'd like to recognize that we have a couple of state officers from FFA here with us. Abby Cruz from Lake County, where are you? Thank you. And Annalise Bullard from Fort White High School. Awesome. And I have to give a shout out not just to our 4-H'ers and our FFA students, but also the advisors and parents who helped get over 50 plus, I think we were actually approaching 60 students here today. I know it's a school day, but this is the next generation, and I heard from not just the chairman, but my colleagues, they have never been to a field hearing and seen so many students. So thank you guys for making such an impact the minute that we walked in the door. I'd like to acknowledge several of our elected officials here in the room. I would not be able to list you all out, so if you are a local or state elected official, could you please stand? Thank you. Thank you. And I think there's a few that are already standing, so. And I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I'm 5'3" with T-Rex arms, so I have to stand, otherwise they wouldn't be able to see me. I'd like to give a shout out to Alachua County Sheriff's Office for providing security today. We have 2 officers here. Please give them a round of applause. And of course, this wouldn't be an event in the Gator Nation without University of Florida. So we have officials from the university. We just wrapped up with President Ben Sass. And so a huge shout out to UF for making this an incredible event and for all of your contributions through IFAS and beyond. Go Gators. To my colleagues, Georgia, welcome to the Gator Nation. There has been a friendly rivalry happening all day. This is why the chairman has us separated. But we are glad that it was announced recently that we will be keeping the Florida-Georgia game in Jacksonville. We would hate to see what would happen should it be hosted here in the swamp. But thank you to all of my colleagues for being so tremendously gracious with your time, being good sports. It is an honor, I can say, for myself and for Representative Soto, being the lone representatives for the big Sunshine State. We take this very seriously. So thank you to my colleagues for taking the time to be here. And of course to the committee staff and also my team and the volunteers who have made today possible. This has been a labor of love. From the snack stations to the decorations. We don't see this at every field hearing. What we have in front of you will probably be snacking for the next 2 hours. I mean, for goodness sakes, we have ice, we have strawberry shortcake, and little smorgasbord going on up here. It's beautiful. So thank you to the team who has made this so special. And finally, to everyone here in the room, you guys are amazing. Thank you. To every single producer who is here, who has traveled from South Florida, the Panhandle, and everywhere in between, thank you. This is so important that for the next 5 years, we will have this farm bill that dictates so much of our operations. And to have your voice at the table couldn't be more important. And so I might get a little emotional. I'm going to try not to. But this, to me, just speaks volumes about the passion and dedication and commitment that our Florida producers have. Thank you for showing up and being a voice for the over 300 specialty crops, for all of the amazing commodities that are produced here, for all our cow-calf producers and beyond. Thank you for making the Gator Nation and the Sunshine State look damn good. Thank you, guys.
All right. I have one last introduction, which will get us started. It's time. Thank you, Kat. Next, I'd like to introduce Christy Shirelli, Director of the UF-IFAS Wedgeworth Leadership Institute for Agriculture and Natural Resources, and our moderator for today's listening session. When you do come to the podium, I just asked, she's going to introduce you by name and give a cue, what cue is, but when you start, if you could just say your name again, I think that's helpful for all of us as well. So, Christy, the floor is yours. Yield you as much time as what you can consume. How's that?
Sure. All right. Thank you, Chairman Thompson. On behalf of the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, it is my pleasure to welcome you all here this afternoon to the UF-IFAS Alachua County Extension Office. Chairman Thompson, thank you again, you and the House Agriculture Committee, for joining us here to hear the needs and concerns of our farmers, producers, and nutrition providers as you consider the upcoming Farm Bill. It is our great honor to host each of you on the committee today. Representative Cammack, thank you especially for your advocacy on behalf of Florida agriculture. You and your team have done a lot to get ready for today, and we appreciate your diligence in bringing this to Alachua County. Representative Soto, thank you also for your support and diligent support of Florida agriculture. We appreciate your constant support of our industries as well. In my role as director of the UF-IFAS Wedgeworth Leadership Institute for Agriculture and Natural Resources, I have the pleasure of working with many of our state's leaders. And today, this room is full of our state's leaders, representing the importance of this farm bill to Florida. As the leaders in this room recognize that the House Ag Committee is on the front lines of helping to secure the jobs, industries, and lifestyles that we treasure so deeply. Florida boasts more than 300 diverse commodities, and while all of our commodities have unique priorities and concerns, I think today you will hear that we are united in our desire to safely and affordably feed Americans and the world. In the time we have together today, we will spend it sharing ideas and solutions to produce a farm bill that protects American producers and benefits American consumers. Here are a few logistics to get us started. First is that our scheduled time is until 4:30. If for some reason we do not get to everyone, the House Ag Committee staff has assured me that they still would like to hear from you using the QR code that Chairman Thompson mentioned earlier. The bathrooms are right outside this door to my left, to your right. Please feel free to get up and use the facilities if you need to. And the third piece is actually how we'll welcome the speakers today. This podium right over here, that's our speaker's podium. Each speaker, due to the number of cards that we have received an overwhelming number of comments. We are limiting comments to 2 minutes. So if you will please be mindful of that so we can get to as many people as possible. I will also keep a timer up here, and please forgive me in advance if I have to thank you for your comments and move to the next person. So with that, we will begin.
I will call you up in groups of 3, and so that way we'll just keep it rolling, and I don't have to come up between every speaker. So the first 3 speakers that we will welcome, President Jeb Smith of the Florida Farm Bureau, Mr. Trey Sanchez with Sanchez Farms, and Mr. Dustin Grooms with Fancy Farms. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Jeb Smith. I'm a 5th-generation farmer from Hastings and the president of Florida Farm Bureau. And on behalf of Florida's 47,500 farms, I would like to express our sincere gratitude for you taking time to travel to our home state, the Sunshine State. The Farm Bill is important to Florida's producers. Adequate funding for staffing of the Farm Service Agency is imperative for technical assistance and proper efficient implementation of the USDA programs, especially with the diversity of over 300 commodities being produced by Florida growers. Without sufficient, competent FSA employees, farmers and ranchers are unable to obtain pertinent information and critical daily program assistance to guide them through the process. This becomes most obvious in the preparation for the vulnerable, chaotic aftermath of major natural disasters. Securing the necessary resources to accomplish these tasks to ensure a viable safety net for our nation's producers of food and fiber, and it requires the action of the 2023 Farm Bill as well as annual appropriations. I'll say today, risk management also must be a priority. Federal crop insurance and commodity programs are both important to our producers. It is important to note that many of our specialty crops are exceptionally expensive to grow, hence there is a tremendous amount of capital at risk. In order to encourage the continued production of these crops, proper risk management tools are required. Likewise, it is needful to be considered that if we are going to encourage younger generation to engage in production agriculture, we must support such programs to assist them and their lenders with managing such high costs. The average age of the U.S. farmer is 57 and a half years old. Also, the average cost of production is continuing to rise. My son, and actually on my farm today, there are 3 generations, my dad, myself, and my eldest son. And my son has a strong desire to farm. Even with our heritage and economic stability, it is difficult to encourage borrowing capital and risking equity we do possess without sufficient assurance of the right risk management tools to mitigate that risk. I tell you, it's very important with all the other things that we're engaged in, with other uncertainties with weather, disease, and markets. It would be easy to liquidate our land and equipment assets and do something different. However, that's not the way we're made. If our federal government believes that it's important to encourage farmers and their children to continue to produce the world's safest, most abundant, and most affordable food supply, then the 2023 Farm Bill must address staffing capacity of FSA and risk management tools. Thank you for your time, and thank you for hope you enjoy your time in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, Judd.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Thompson, members of the committee, for your time today. My name is Dustin Grooms. I'm a 4th-generation farmer from Plant City, Florida. I grow strawberries, blackberries, squash, peas, okra, pepper on about 130 acres. I'm a proud U.S. Army veteran. I served 8.5 years right after high school. I came back to the farm to continue the legacy on, to serve my country, to provide safe, nutritious fruits and vegetables to America. So in my eyes, food security and national security is one and the same. On our business cards, it says since 1974, still learning. I share this with you today because it's important that we do not forget our past, but most importantly, what we do today to have a future. That's the importance of this meeting here today, to have a future in agriculture and to act with a sense of urgency. On the farm, a reliable domestic workforce is always a challenge. Many farms has had to switch to the H-2A program, including us. It's expensive, it's difficult, you gotta have a lawyer to run it. The way the system is designed, it creates a lot of instability for us growers. We never know what wages are gonna look like from year to year. This year, they got a pay increase. It's gonna cost our farm about $500,000 extra. On top of the input costs, which are just through the roof. With that said, we're doing everything we can to survive on the farm, just like I did in the Army. But if we're not going to tackle these challenges needed at the federal labor program head on and provide stability with H-2A wage rate, specialty crop growers, myself included, are looking for the Farm Bill to provide some relief in the following ways. One, we need an investment in the research and development of mechanization and automation for specialty crop growers, and these tools will help us become competitive domestically and globally. Second, we need a reimbursement-based cost-share program that is affordable. I say affordable to farmers and in a timely manner. These ideas will help offset some of the costs and help us move toward a future we can build upon. Because without automation and mechanization in the specialty crop industry, we stand the ability to lose to plant, harvest, and transport our crops across the country, and more farms may go fallow. While the challenges facing us seem insurmountable at times, I look forward to continue to serve my country by providing safe, nutritious fruits and vegetables, and put it on your dinner plate. Thank you for your time.
Awesome, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Thompson and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Trey Sanchez. I am a 37-year-old multi-generation Florida farmer, and I've condensed this from 3 minutes to 2 in about the last 30 seconds. Each year, my family grows grain, corn, silage, cattle, produce, and peanuts. We also operate a peanut buying point. We have been growing peanuts since 2004. We started right after the 2002 Farm Bill, known as the Freedom Farm Act, which opened the door for new peanut growers. I'm here today to speak on behalf of non-based peanut growers from Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and other states. Although these farmers have been growing peanuts, a Title I commodity, since 2002, over 20 years, and have participated in every available opportunity allowed, because they do not have base, many have been prevented from participating in the PLC, Price Loss Coverage Program, that was designed by Congress to protect against substantial drops in crop prices. We believe all producers need to have access to the same federal safety nets. The peanut industry, like a number of other commodities, supports a voluntary base update. As we all know, people are leaving from the farm because of the difficulties the industry possesses. We recognize that the budget situation for this farm bill is difficult. Many farms are also struggling with a difficult budget situation due to the lack of access to PLC safety nets. Peanuts are a small commodity with a big problem. We encourage you to look at peanuts and consider a voluntary base update opportunity for growers. Dr. Stanley Fletcher, peanut economist, has reviewed the peanut base issue using an Olympic average of the last 5 years. The needed base increase is approximately 112,000 acres total. Industry processors do not believe this base increase would skew the market. With the increased pressure from foreign adversaries on domestic food security, it is of utmost importance that U.S. food security is increased. You have the opportunity through this year's Farm Bill to provide non-base growers the option of participating in U.S. agriculture's farm safety net. Not only would a voluntary base update allow farmers to participate in programs like PLC, but more importantly, it would encourage them to stay in production agriculture. To show you the vast importance of this Farm Bill to the peanut industry, many have left their farm today during peanut planting season to be here at this meeting to express their concerns. If you are here today representing the peanut industry, please stand or raise your hand if you're in the back. As American farmers, we want to provide food for our families and yours, Chairman Thompson and committee members. Thank you for helping to ensure food security in this country. Thank you for fighting to keep American agriculture strong.
Trace, thank you so much.
Our next speakers are Mr. Matt Webb from Genesis Timber, Mr. Kenneth Parker from the Florida Strawberry Growers Association, and Mr. Ned Hancock from Hancock Citrus.
My name is Matt Webb, and I'm with Genesis Timber out of Madison, Florida. We also own a trucking company called Valor Trucking. We haul our timber products. Thank you very much for the opportunity to stand up here and represent forestry in the state of Florida. Forestry is important in the state both economically and environmentally. There's a wide range of jobs available. However, many of these jobs require specialized training and knowledge and special insurance requirements. Some of the challenges that we face with especially CDL drivers is the requirements from the insurance is they need 2 years experience before they can drive, and the only way that we can get that is taking it from somebody else or somebody moves in out of state, so that's a big challenge for us. The other issue is the equipment that we use nowadays is $350,000 to $500,000, and it's like being in a spaceship. Challenge there is you're putting somebody that has zero experience in that, and that's where we're needing help training these individuals where they can drive this equipment and we feel comfortable putting them in that heavy equipment. To meet this need, I urge you to include the creation of regional forest industry training hubs to support rural forest-based communities in the Farm Bill. This Farm Bill could provide grants to start programs that would meet this need in our industry. This is a big enough deal to us that we have actually established a CDL program in our county, Madison, Florida, and we actually just got approved from the county commission last week to get a heavy equipment operator program started for forestry. Our goal was to get that established so that it could be a satellite for other potentials in the future. So please consider this as you make your decisions, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Matt, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Kenneth Parker. I'm a sixth-generation Floridian. My family was on the peninsula before Florida became a state. But thank you, Chair, for providing this opportunity for Florida's farmers and ranchers to express our comments to you in public, in a public place. As I have conversations with growers, two top concerns for most producers, the two top concerns is cost of labor and unfair trade. Recognizing that this committee, through the Farm Bill, cannot control the Department of Labor or the USTR, however, you can use the Farm Bill to mitigate these concerns. Congresswoman Cammack will be introducing language that will increase the consumption of domestically grown fruits and vegetables. Her bill is affectionately going to be called FFA, Farmers Feeding America. Thank you, Congresswoman, for that. Florida Strawberry Growers Association wholeheartedly supports this language. Secondly, the Farm Bill can help mitigate the concerns of availability and cost of labor on farms and ranches. Effective mechanization made possible through the robust and reoccurring investment in applied artificial intelligence is critical to the sustainability of labor-intensive crops. Applied artificial intelligence is not only going to play a role in solving our labor concerns, it can and has already reduced the cost of inputs and the strain on natural resources. Historically, federal investment in agricultural research and development has yielded a 20-to-1 return. As a nation, we cannot continue to lose our competitive advantage. Investment that is robust and reoccurring should be a top priority in the 2023 Farm Bill. FSGA is fully committed to support language in the Farm Bill that encourages and makes available reoccurring funding to expedite applied agricultural research and development and applied agriculture artificial intelligence. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Kenneth, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good afternoon. I'm Ned Hancock. I don't know how many generations we go back, but we have a citrus grove on the same property that somebody in my family, my great-great-great-grandfather, got deeded to him in 1870. So we've been here a while, faced many challenges. At your podium, each one of you had a citrus label. That's a part of our past that we're very proud of. That's how each individual packing house used to try to differentiate, catch a consumer's eye, not only to promote citrus, but also at the same time promoted Florida. Today, I'm here to ask you to help us be part of the future. As many of you know, we've invested millions of dollars in research. Got a long ways to go, but we're starting to see some of the therapies that work. And there's one program in particular that we think can assist us with that. That's the Citrus Tree Assistance Program, or TAP. Currently, there's a 15% deductible. We don't know where the number came from because we have about a 3% annual mortality. So we'd like to see that can be adjusted. We're also looking at what the reimbursement rate is for the planting cost of a new tree. It was established in 2008, and as everybody here knows, those costs have increased substantially since 2008. That's a number that I think we really need to look closely at. But also a cost for rehabilitating the existing trees. That should be part of the tree assistance program to make these trees productive so that we can rebuild this industry quicker. We also need to look at different things in the way we implement the TAP program. Currently, it's a cost share program. It's one of the few cost share programs that also has the adjusted gross income component. So, every other cost share that I'm aware of, you have one or the other. It's either a cost share participation program or there's adjusted gross income component. So we think that we would like to see that looked at and make it just a straight cost share component. The other thing is right now, for every tree is removed, you only get to replace one tree under the TAP program. Research has shown that we need to go back with high-density plantings. With the state of the industry right now, the assistance that could become with this increase in tree usage would not only help the producer, but it would help our overall economy. I kind of want to remind you of one thing. In Florida, when these citrus groves go away, we see rooftops. They don't recharge water. They don't provide wildlife corridors. The economics of this state were greatly different several years ago during the recession. Agriculture, all the people in this room are what brought us through. The more we diminish that, the more we hurt our local economy.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
I would like to, the last thing I'd like to echo what President Smith said, FSA, we've got great people. They just need a little help.
All right, Ned, thank you.
Our next speakers are Mr. Steve Johnson from Johnson Harvesting and the Florida Farm Bureau Federation, Mr. John Gray from Williston Peanuts, and Mr. David Hill from Southern Hill Farm.
Morning. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, committee. Steve Johnson. I'm a fourth-generation citrus and cattle guy. Hopefully I have the fifth generation coming up behind me. I want to start off with a quote by John F. Kennedy. The farmer is the only man in our economy who pays everything he needs at retail, sells everything at wholesale, and pays the freight both ways. So remember that as we go forward. One of the things that's important to me as being a citrus grower is the block grant. And that's something that we could easily fix. It's just with some language within the Farm Bill so that we could constantly use that to codify and utilize block grants to disbursement of relief funds. The other thing is standardize disaster relief by creating a permanent framework for a relief package. Seems like every time we have a disaster, we recreate the wheel. So let's just get something that's real easy. And obviously, we've talked about it. Everybody's talked about it. President Smith started it off. We talk about the workload of FSA and just how drastic that is. Give you a prime example, my own operation. We go in and we fill out the paperwork. It gets sent to another office because we don't have enough people. Well, then they send it back to the other office, and then we lose those paperwork. So we have to refill out the paperwork. So we're keeping the timber industry in business, but the rest of us are suffering in the meantime. So I just encourage you to get some FSA help there. One thing I do want to say is I appreciate your opening comments and talking about the farmers and how important they are. It is a national security. Our food system is our national security and something that we need to be very cognizant of. So today I ask you, as we all grow perishable crops, please don't make the farmer a perishable crop. Thank you.
Steve, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Congressman Thompson and committee. My name is John Gray. I am here representing the American Peanut Shellers Association, National Peanut Buying Points Association, Florida Peanut Farmers, all the way around. I've run Williston Peanuts. We've been in business for over 40 years, shelling peanuts and buying them from the farmers. I'm a third-generation farmer myself, growing peanuts. We send these peanuts around the world like you talk about food security. One of the things that Mr. Sanchez hit on earlier is something we really need to talk about, which is getting a voluntary base update on the peanut acres so that all farmers are on the same playing field and can participate in that. While we talk about that voluntary base update, we also need to talk about our cost. Peanuts, if you go to the grocery store and you buy your jar of peanut butter, hasn't gone up a little bit. It's gone up considerably, and yet we haven't seen it on our farm. And we have a target price that was set, and with our cost increase, our inflations, it is getting tougher and tougher to compete. Farmers are not growing on a safety net anymore. They just can't do it. We would like to consider an increase on the reference price for that, along with that base update. We recognize that your budget situations would be tough, but we have to look at these inflation costs that we're facing to keep feeding. Peanuts are one of the cheapest proteins in the grocery store, and when the recession hits, that peanut butter is what feeds America, and we need to make sure it keeps doing that. I'd like to thank y'all for your time today.
Well, John, thank you so much. Some of those Florida peanuts make it to Pennsylvania, my district, where we make the peanut butter.
That's right.
That's right, yeah.
I'm trying to set my timer because it's tough for 2 minutes, I'll tell you that. And I'd like to save the last 20 seconds for my son just to follow up. So, hello, my name is David Hill with Southern Hill Farms, blueberry and strawberry, commercial blueberry and strawberry grower in Claremont. But today I'm being here today representing the Florida Fruit and Vegetable Industry. I'm the chairman of the Florida Fruit and Vegetable Association. Something I take a whole lot of pride in. And Chairman Thompson, you've got your title as chair. I'm just as proud of my title as chair. I get it. But I got into farming the easy way. I married a farmer's daughter, and but that's the only thing that came easy. I promise you that. So now I gotta prove myself as being the son-in-law that shouldn't have been there, kind of thing. So. But what I want to do is, I could talk about, my kids are fourth generation farmers, and it's try to stay viable. It's important, but with the lack of time, I'm just going to go right to what I'm concerned with is unfair trade. And I know you guys are not the USTR, that was said before, but I want you guys to take it's a kind of a take-home point. And what I want to do is kind of highlight what's happening to. What I do is the blueberry industry. You can say that about several specialty crops, but it's in Mexico in particular, the growth in Mexican production is ballooned, and they're getting supported by their government subsidies, and the cost of labor is so cheap. But what I want to do to show you what can happen is talk about the tomato industry. The tomato guys. Pre-NAFTA, everybody knows NAFTA, back in the early 90s, there was 50 to 60,000 acres of tomatoes in Florida with 300 growers. Today, there's 25,000 acres with a total of 30 growers and only 6 to 7 major growers. So that's what can happen with trade that just goes crazy and isn't held back. In 2021, there was actually a $15 billion trade deficit, fruit and vegetables, between Mexico and the U.S. $15 billion. So if anybody would try to say that it's fair, I'd take exception with it. I know that with the new USMCA, it's kind of the same thing, retreaded. There's winners and losers. I've heard that said before, and we're losers both times. The special crop industry, and I saw what happened to the tomato industry, and I know the same thing's happening to the blueberry industry. It's just a little bit later. So because of that, we decided to diversify to try to save ourselves. We built a packing house, and now we pack blueberries. And on our farm, we got into pretty heavy into agritourism just to try to stay afloat. So this meeting is about the Farm Bill. It's not the USTR, like I said. And the things that you guys can do to help us remain viable until some sort of volume control with the USTR is agreed upon. One, we can improve the crop insurance program, make it affordable and easy to administer, and also create a stronger and enforceable Buy American program for the school meal and the SNAP program. Also, the establishment of a domestic promotion program through the USDA to specifically promote specialty crops. All these things they're small, and they're just a bridge to get us until hopefully we can have some real discussions. I'm being pointed at that this is Michael's turn. So Michael, this is my eldest son, and he is taller than me, much better looking, but he's going to finish it out.
I just wanted to say a few things. I'll be real quick. I'm 35 years old, fourth generation farmer. My mom's right here. This is my father. When I was about 10 or 12 years old, I wanted to be a farmer, and they tried to talk me out of it. And I said, why? Why should I not be a farmer? They said, well, it's hard work, 7 days a week, all year long. It's stressful. It's all these things. I said, and none of those scared me. So I became a farmer. Now my kids are asking the same question. They want to be in the business. It's not a question of what's hard. I'm telling them there's no future because it's the truth. And I'm getting emotional about it because it's emotional, right? For everybody in this room, it's very emotional. We grow blueberries in a big way. We had to switch gears 20 years ago and change crops. And he's not lying. We're on a time crunch. We do have the right varieties and technology to deploy, and not just blueberries and other crops. But it's cost so much money to change those over. So FFVA is talking about, how can we help us out with the Farm Bill? A reimbursement-based cost share program to replant our fields into technology-driven varieties where we can harvest by machine and not have to rely on labor would help us out in a big way, because to replant is $10,000 or $12,000 an acre, and it just kills your cash flow. But something like that would help. But I know we're sharing time here, so there's not a whole lot. But I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
David and Mike, thank you so much. And we're hoping our goal is to do a farm bill where there is hope for both farm and food security. Before we announce the next three, just a reminder, and thank you to the associations from around the state. They brought snacks and refreshments for everyone, and they're over along the wall. So please indulge, make use of them.
All right. We'll keep going. Our next three speakers are Ms. Katie Delaney from Feeding Florida, Mr. Ed Bravo from Big Trees Plantation, and Mr. Adam Litch from L&M Companies. Is Katie Delaney here? Okay, we'll get her in the rotation. Mr. Ed Bravo, if you'd like to start us off, and Katie can jump in maybe third.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Kat, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm just a landscaper. Like you guys are just farmers. We hear that all the time. With that said, I have represented a $31 billion industry. My industry, the nursery, landscape, and horticulture industry, is in every county, in every city, in every town in the state. It's affected by every storm, and we rely heavily on the programs that y'all are discussing today. We appreciate your interest and your work on our behalf, and we hope that you do not forget about the landscaper. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Ed's the one that did that.
Just as a small note, as he's walking away, Mr. Ed Bravo, who is one of the most humble people I know, he is responsible for helping make this room look so beautiful today. So thank you to all of our nurseries who contributed, and to Mr. Bravo and team for getting this so beautiful up here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson and members of the committee, for taking the time to be with us here today. My name's Adam Litch. I'm with L&M Farms in East Palatka, Florida. We grow cabbage, potatoes, broccoli, collards and kale, and many other vegetables over in the Tri-County agriculture area. As you have heard, unlike commodity crops, our specialty crops are very labor intense. A substantial portion of getting our crops to market is the labor to plant, grow, harvest, and pack these specialty crops. Everything we grow is either hand harvested or hand sorted, everything. Just a few weeks ago in March, during a 2-week period leading up to St. Patrick's Day, we harvested over 4 million heads of cabbage. It's all sorted and packed by hand. We are looking for ways to mechanize and automate our process in the face of a dwindling domestic workforce and an expensive H-2A program for guest workers. For 2 seasons now, we've been experimenting with robotic broccoli harvesting, and while the technology is promising, we're still years and millions of dollars away from a viable solution. We are also a year-round business. We have a long season in which our harvest here in Florida, but the rest of the year we must bring in product from other farms. H-2A workers are not available to do that work. We must rely on a domestic workforce that is simply not adequate. In a few weeks, we'll be installing robotic palletizers to stack potatoes onto pallets. Our ROI was pretty easy to calculate when the alternative is there's no workers to manually do those jobs. Farm Bill funding that prioritizes these new innovations and technologies is critical as a cost share program to ensure they are adopted quickly by growers and when the technology does become available. Throughout COVID, we were not able to work from home and never missed work. In fact, we doubled down. L&M, along with many family farmers here in Florida, consistently supplied millions of pounds of fresh, safe, wholesome, and healthy fruits and vegetables to our food bank networks. The first time I rode along with one of our trucks making those deliveries, there was already a line miles long and cars waiting, hours before the distribution was even set to begin. And my first thought was, wow, we didn't bring nearly enough. I will close with a question for you all to consider. If we do not further support our domestic food supply, will our foreign competitors step up and meet our food nutrition needs, especially for our food insecure neighbors, the next time our supply chain is so greatly disrupted? Thank you.
Adam, thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Hi there, my name is Katie Delaney. I'm the director of the Fresh Access Bucks program, a nutrition incentive program here in the state of Florida. And I apologize for missing my cue. I stepped out to wash my hands.
No problem.
For any of you that are stepping out, make sure you listen for your names. I just wanted to say thank you for being here and for listening to all of us today. I represent the 12.7% of Floridians that are food insecure that are using SNAP benefits. Our program, Fresh Access Bucks, supports Florida farmers. We have an incentive program that incentivizes folks to purchase fruits and vegetables from our specialty crop farmers. And we are funded by the GusNIP program that is directly funded through the Farm Bill. And I'm here just to say that this program works, that folks that are using this program are eating more fruits and vegetables than the average American, and they're doing it by supporting Florida farmers here in the state. So we want to see this program continue to receive funding. We want to be able to continue supporting our Florida farmers, continue supporting food insecure folks, especially as these food costs continue rising. We also see that by keeping these dollars in these communities, that it's raising all the ships. We're supporting small community members, we're supporting food insecure folks, we're supporting Florida farmers. And as a result, in 2022, last year, we saw a $12.6 million that remained in our communities because we kept that funding here. So thanks for everything that you're doing. We look forward to seeing more of this in the future. Thank you.
Katie, thank you so much.
Next, we have Ms. Artis Hammock from Frierson Farms, Mr. Jimmy Beeling from the Florida Forestry Association and Beeling Site Prep, Mr. Matthew Donovan from Agriculture Intelligence.
Good afternoon, Chairman Thompson and members of the committee. My name is Artis Hammock. Thank you for the opportunity today to speak to you about our 105-year-old sugarcane farm. We farm on the shore of Lake Okeechobee on a small 700-acre farm owned and run by my husband, Alan, who has worked there 50 years, and our son, Robert, who's been there 15 years. We implore you at a minimum to continue sugar policy as it is in the current Farm Bill to keep American sugar farmers like us in business. With input cost increase the last 5 years on our farm, fertilizer increasing 47%, chemicals 18%, fuel 32%, insurance 39%, taxes 24%, and only a small 14% price increase for our sugar, we are struggling to stay afloat. As you can see, I'm a numbers girl. However, having a sugar loan rate that is closer to the actual cost of production would provide a more effective safety net to us. And somewhere Michael's supposed to be bringing you some goodies up here. And the boat being handed out to you is for you to remember that foreign countries who supply the U.S. with 30% of our sugar needs are all in the same boat. These heavily subsidized countries don't have to comply with any of the permits, rules, regulations, laws that I have listed on the handout to you in order to produce 1 teaspoon of sugar. American sugar farmers do not receive any direct subsidies. We only have a sugar program that is no cost to the American taxpayers. These foreign countries are notorious for cheating and dumping sugar that causes economic disaster to our industry. In 2014, the anti-dumping and the counter-prevailing petition filed by our industry against Mexico with the International Trade Commission proved economic harm to the U.S. sugar industry to the tune of $2 billion. This is why we need a sugar policy in the Farm Bill to ensure that the USDA and the Department of Commerce adhere to the laws of our trade agreements and our farm policy. That said, I am making an SOS call to you today. We need sugar on the shelves. Not too long ago, consumers can remember empty shelves. Sugar was not a missing commodity due to American producers. It was a logistics issue. American sugar farmers did not shut down their production, but kept a safe, sustainably produced and affordable supply of sugar on the shelves and tables for American consumers. Speaking of affordable, have you ever thought that sugar is so cheap that you can go into any restaurant in America and pick up a package of sugar and not pay for it, or that a can of Coke and Diet Coke is the same price? The candy that I made for you in the box today has 2 cents worth of sugar in it. The box costs 22 cents. I hope you enjoy it. When confectioners knock on your door and ask and come complaining about the cost of sugar in their products, well, that's just a ploy to dump foreign subsidized sugar that is a yard sale price into the U.S. Unlike sugar users, farmers are price takers, not price makers. My card on the photo of our family, please look at it and remember, we are not, as some people like to call us, big sugar. You are looking at real sugar. We are real farmers, real farms, real jobs, real communities dependent on farms, real schools, real children with hopes and dreams, real farmers who are managers, not owners, stewards who are not landlords, maintenance people, not proprietors. God needed a caretaker, so he made a farmer. I invite you to watch the Zach Brown video in the same boat. You'll see my husband and grandchildren in that video. It seems that there was a singer who gets the Glades was the perfect place to make a video where we live and breathe the sweet life. All Americans are in the same boat of needing safe, affordable food supply to keep us a free nation. If we become dependent on a foreign food supply, we will cease to be a free nation. Thank you for defending American farmers each and every day in your jobs, and I will leave you with this. Life isn't always a bowl of cherries, but it is a bunch of raisins. Raising Cane, raising kids, and raising hope for tomorrow. Thank you.
All right. Artists, I've heard a lot of great presentations regarding sugar, and that's the best. Great job. Great job.
My name is Jimmy Beeling, Chairman Thompson, Congresswoman Cammack, and Congresswoman Pingree, am I saying that properly, and other congressional delegates. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today and represent the forest industry here in Florida. We have a small farm that we raise cattle, row crop, and primarily timber. We are a part of producing about 10,000 acres of reforestation per year, adding to the present wood flow that we have in the state of Florida. We're a $25 billion industry, 17 million acres. In Florida, majority that is privately owned. Over 5,000 products that we use every day that comes from the timber industry. As a result of this volume of wood and the amount of acres that we have in timber, it's imperative that we continue our prescribed burning programs throughout the state. Speaking from experience, areas that when we had major incidents in the past, we were able to push a fire towards a blackened area, which probably kept Lake City from burning up at times, which is to the north of us here. But anyhow, these fuels that grow as a result of no burning, they're volatile, they're heavy oily base, such as tie bush, feather bush, gallberry, and wax myrtles. They preheat and they become very explosive as a result of some of the fires that we have under adverse conditions. The fires, the ecosystem depends on about a 3 to 5 year rotation. And so with the use of the prescribed fire, we can replicate what Mother Nature is not able to do. So in doing so, we provide a good site for longleaf to flourish, wiregrass, and of course it enhances the wildlife as well, and releases the good species for forbs and stuff for the wildlife habitat. Also, prescribed fire minimizes the risk of forest insects and disease. It removes the unwanted species that are competition to the timber that we're trying to grow and generate a cash flow from. So there's lots of advantages to prescribed fire, and if we manage to utilize it in the future, we'll continue to sustain a good forest, healthy forest.
Thank you, Mr. Beeling.
But at any rate, the lack of the fire would be a problem. So am I done?
Yes, sir.
Well, anyhow, please help us with the...
Yes, ma'am.
Please help us with our insurance programs to keep our prescribed foresters working, and also to keep that under a manageable expense to our prescribed burners. And thank you very much for your time. And I had a whole nother page.
Mr. Chairman? Well, Jimmy, thank you. And this is for you, Jimmy, and it's for everybody. I mean, we're limited because of trying to get as many voices, but we will take unlimited amount of written testimony and pages and whatever else you'd like to submit, either in person or, quite frankly, online. It would be actually much appreciated. So,
Mr. Chairman, can I call on Jimmy to come speak to me afterwards? Me down on down here, okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
This is Chairman LaMalfa. He chairs the forestry subcommittee. Jimmy, you're gonna want to spend some quality time with him.
Hey, what do you got? Some ice, please, right in here. Thank you. I'll take it. Thank you, Pete.
Dearest esteemed members of the committee, thank you for being here in this putting on this forum today. My name is Matthew Donovan. I'm the CEO of Agriculture Intelligence and the Chief Product Officer for AgroView. Our mission is to find proven, real, and effective artificial intelligence, computer vision, and robotics and automation platforms that are going to benefit everybody in this room today. AgroView is built in the fields of Florida with some of the brightest minds at the University of Florida. Go Gators. It revolutionizes both crop management, it benefits growers and the American economy. It's an accurate, proven, cost-effective program and an example of how artificial intelligence can empower growers to make the kind of informed decisions and optimized management strategies. It also supports a sustainable agriculture model with key data analytics, working towards variable rate spray systems and using automation to increase yields. It's a drive towards the critical goal of doubling the food production that our country must do by 2050. AgroView's roots are in an American soil and a connection to the University of Florida that fosters the kind of innovation that America and the American grower is known for, that's in their DNA. While the agricultural challenges are global, it's essential that U.S. growers, crop stakeholders like financial services, insurers, and bankers support homegrown companies. Many AI platforms that are attempting to serve the U.S. grower
are outside the U.S. and filled with lots of promises that they cannot deliver on. AgriView has been committed to the success of the specialty crop sector currently with both software and hardware solutions that should start to make the difference for the key three things that need to be done to move forward. That's new trees and seeds, the right treatments, and tracking. And that's where artificial intelligence can really make a difference. By allocating funds to the National Farm Bill, you could support breakthroughs like AgriView, you can uplift our agriculture communities, and pave a way for a prosperous and resilient future, driven by American companies. Together, please sow the seeds of innovation and reap the rewards of a thriving agricultural sector that can be powered by AI, computer vision, automation, and sustainable practices. Thank you again for being here today. And thank you, everybody, for being and doing what you do. Thank you so much.
Matthew, thank you so much.
Next, we have Mr. Glenn Beck, President of Florida Citrus Mutual and Beck Brothers Citrus, Mr. John Dooner with Southern Forestry Consultants, and Mr. Jim Hanley with the Florida Cattlemen's Association.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to take the chance to thank you very much for being here. I'm here on behalf of Florida Citrus, and I'll just, with one point, I know several points have already been mentioned, but basically just the continued funding of citrus research, primarily for HLB research. It's no secret that the Florida citrus industry is hurting. We've got some usable solutions in the pipeline. We just need to expand on that and kind of keep moving forward. Whenever I hear everyone's testimony here, and just kind of, Florida citrus along with every other crop represented here. I mean, these are the best stewards of the land that there could possibly be. And every citizen in this state, whether you're engaged in agriculture, they are all a beneficiary of that. So, my hat's off to everyone here and to you as well. So, thank you.
All right, Glenn, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to all committee members for your service. My name is John Dooner. I'm a member of the forestry industry here in Florida. As you all know, in October 2018, we watched as Hurricane Michael quite literally blew away retirement portfolios, college funds, and lifetimes of growing timber in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. Fortunately, Congress acted swiftly to appropriate relief funding, a portion of which was to be provided to the affected states for administration as they saw fit, and the balance administered through the Farm Service Agency's Emergency Forest Restoration Program, commonly known as EFRP. To date, Florida has distributed roughly $200 million through a timber block grant program. The latest estimates out of EFRP total less than $15 million. Now, I'm not here today to complain about FSA. Ms. Deborah Tannenbaum, our director, is here today and is working hard to help us resolve these issues. I'm here to talk about solutions. We've demonstrated what works in Florida. So here's what we're asking. Number one, reopen the timber block grant to allow access to the funds landowners deserve. This is a priority for Congressman Neil Dunn, whose district was especially hard hit. Number two, create flexibility within USDA for program administration. Partnering with state agencies works. Engaging the private sector like FEMA does works. Number three, reform the EFRP program guidelines. Eliminate the salvage income deduction and allow harvesting within the 10-year maintenance period that begins after program enrollment. And finally, support and pass House Bill 655, the Disaster Reforestation Act, which allows landowners to deduct the fair market value of a casualty loss from their tax return rather than simply the cost basis in the asset. I thank you for your time and consideration.
John, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Handley. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Florida Cattlemen's Association. We're an 89-year-old trade association based in Kissimmee, Florida. Had to mention that, Congressman Soto, your hometown. And on behalf of the 4,000 member families that we represent, take care of approximately 6 million acres, utilizing 1.6 million beef cattle, we take our job very, very seriously. We greatly appreciate your work in supporting our industry and hope that you'll continue to do so. We can only advance our industry and have the most viable, safest food supply in the world if we fund and take care of our research, education partners in our land grant system, as well as the USDA research folks. They have allowed us to advance the industry to be all of agriculture, to be the safest, the most efficient, and sustainable, and that's why we're such a strong, independent country. The 3 areas of the Farm Bill that are real important to us are the risk management programs, the disaster programs, and certainly the conservation programs. All of them are vital to every element of agriculture, and we have to sustain them and to continue to be able to recover from extreme weather conditions and overcome these weather anomalies. I've been at what I'm doing for 25 years, and I've worked 14 different storms. Each one has its own uniqueness. You heard Mr. Dooner mention Michael in 18. It was a train wreck. Ian, the footprint that it crossed affected 40% of the cattle herd in the state of Florida. We were inundated with water, and we just need to make sure that our Farm Service Agency and the USDA NRCS are adequately equipped with, you have wonderful people, they just need adequate help and assistance and perhaps strike teams when a storm hits to affect us, because we need immediate response so that we can recover and get back to normalcy. Nobody operates with excess manpower, and they wake up every day with a game plan. But when they wake up every day and they're underwater or their timber crops on the ground, you're spending a tremendous amount of productive time and resources trying to recover. We thank you very much for your service, and we hope that you'll continue to allow us to ranch and take care of this land and pass it on to future generations. Thank you.
Jim, thanks so much. Okay, yeah, of course.
Mr. Handley, I just want to welcome you and all our Florida cattlemen, especially those up from Kissimmee. And that is a fine Brahmer bull you got there. That's a pinup right there. Thank you and welcome.
All right, next up we have Mr. Ryan Weston of the Florida Sugarcane League, Mr. Frank Grady with Gaskin Side Camp, and Mr. Hal Phillips with Farm Credit of Florida.
I didn't see him either.
Speaking for Ryan Weston will be Mr. Matt Hoffman.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Hoffman. Good to see you, GT Thompson.
Good to see you, Matt.
Chairman, good to see you. I'm the president and CEO of Sugarcane Growers Cooperative of Florida, and on behalf of our 39 family farmers, we sincerely thank you for your service and dedication to our nation. I cannot back up Ms. Artis Hammack. She did a phenomenal job, but I will mention a couple of other points here. The U.S. sugar industry provides more than 151,000 jobs across 24 states and contributes more than $23 billion to our U.S. economy. And right now, right here in Florida, that's over 19,000 jobs and 22% of our domestic sugar production. More than $4.5 billion in economic impact. We're the 5th largest producer in the world and 3rd largest importer. We're innovators, environmental stewards, and farm at the highest social standards. Over the past 20 years, we have increased production 14% on 8% fewer acres. And we are on a relentless pursuit to improve further. We are competitive, but we cannot compete against foreign governments. We have a great policy that provides American farmers, consumers, and food manufacturers and operates at zero cost to our U.S. taxpayer. 3 points that I do want to make today and ask that you consider. One, increase our loan rate. Today, our loan rate is 30% below our actual cost of production. Our operating margins have been squeezed as inflation and cost of inputs has not kept up with fuel, labor, seed, fertilizer, and equipment costs. Second, you heard it, crop insurance. We need a risk management tool that works for sugarcane and other specialty crops. While sugarcane is resilient, risk protection is needed given the exposure of strong hurricanes, freezes, and more intense weather. We do have some insurance products available, but those tools are not well developed, they're not affordable, and not widely used. Participation and coverage levels of sugarcane lag significantly behind, we'd like that to be addressed. And third and final, we know there will be amendments to the sugar policy, and we ask that you reject those and to protect U.S. jobs. Again, protects our food supply, and we're competitive and we work hard. God bless you. I extend an invitation to come visit us at any time. Thank you.
All right, Matt, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Frank Grady. I live here in Gainesville, but I own some family property over in the Florida Panhandle, and I'm the managing member of Gaskin Side Camp LLC. I'm here representing them today, and I'm representing the Forest Landowners Association, a national association of forestry people such as myself, family landowners. Our 4 members are 4th generation owners of a timber property that's been in our family for over 100 years. The things I want to accomplish today is have you to support the Disaster Reforestation Act that's been introduced by Representative Buddy Carter and Representative Terry Sewell, Carter of Georgia, Sewell of Alabama. The other thing, as mentioned by the cattlemen, I'd not heard it before, is a strike team for these type of disasters. I lived through this disaster, and I can tell you it's very much needed. It's not fair to your current FSA, NRCS, USDA employees to be overwhelmed by this type of disaster. There needs to be some strike teams. And the other thing, I would like to thank you for the timber block grant money that was provided by Congress, came through USDA, and provided to Florida, Georgia, and Alabama by Sonny Perdue. It was very helpful and helped us to recover. I'd like to enter into the record, if I could, this magazine that has this handsome guy on the cover. And it's Forest Landowners, May and June of 2021, that can tell the story better than I can. It's our story of our family property and how we recovered. I'd like to tell you on October of 18, Hurricane Michael hit Mexico Beach and Tyndall Air Force Base, which Congress is currently rebuilding Tyndall Air Force Base, and I appreciate that. When it hit, all the national news showed how Mexico Beach was flattened. There was nothing there. What they didn't show you was my 460 acres of 30-year-old pine timber 20 miles inland from Mexico Beach. We lost 80% of it after managing and being stewards of that property for over 100 years. This particular timber was 30 years old and it had already been contracted to be thinned. And let me tell you a couple of things that you probably don't realize when one of these disasters where a strike team would help. Immediately, all logging crews were under tremendous pressure to perform. Everybody needed salvage. There weren't enough loggers to go around. It took me 5 or 6 calls to get a timber cruise done on my property from a forester who was able to come do a timber cruise that verified that we lost 80% of 30-year-old timber, which we were not able to write off. That's why I encourage you to support the Disaster Reforestation Act. That's a 30-year investment gone in a matter of just 2 or 3 hours. It had disappeared. The other thing is I had already contracted for some of this timber to be sold. And let me tell you what happens when you flood the market with salvage timber. Pulpwood was contracted at $18 a ton. We got 6. Saw timber was contracted at $28 a ton. We got 9. The local paper mill in Panama City, Florida was flooded with salt water and was down for 2 months. So there's a lot that goes on besides just we had a 2-hour disaster. You know, U.S. Forest Service sends people to fires out west for weeks at a time. This happened in a couple hours. it wasn't over with. I will tell you that somebody mentioned EFRP. It was not a beneficial program for us. I was not able to even file an EFRP application until August of 19, even though the hurricane had been October of 18, about 10 months later. But in 3.5 years, we have recovered through some programs such as EQIP, had some great people that helped me through NRCS with EQIP, and I have replanted in 3.5 years 560 acres of pines, and we're waiting on the next 30 years now to have some revenue, 15 years possibly.
Thank you, Mr. Grady.
Thank you. I do want to say I do have some neighbors that have not yet recovered at all. So I appreciate it, and I would like to present this to you.
Great, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee. Excuse me. Thank you for being here. And first thing I'd like to say is I'm a fifth generation Floridian and rancher by trade, a veterinarian by trade as well. But I happen to live in Congresswoman Cammack's district, and I want to tell you thank you for being out and representing us the way you have. And I also want to congratulate you on being the Congresswoman of the Year by American Farm Bureau. So congratulations. But what I want to
say that.
No, she didn't pay me to say that. My wife, my Pennsylvania-bred wife, told me to say that. So I was blessed to have a Pennsylvanian come by way of California, by the way. So it was good. But anyway, what I'd like to talk about is a few things. Certainly from the livestock standpoint, we don't depend a lot on the Farm Bill. But what we do depend on is the emergency assistance that's been talked about and the EQIP program and those things that help us to reestablish. And what's more important to us is when we have a disaster is to have some assistance, have it quickly and without all the red tape that is usually associated with it, which has been said before. Also, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about our insurance programs, the risk management tools. They're very, very important to Florida. The PRF program, especially for the cattle ranchers. Many other commodities have also insurance programs, but we also have a lot of commodities in Florida that don't have any programs. So there's room for improvement to effectively help Florida agriculture in this farm bill. Florida is second only to California in the number of commodities that it produces, and it's their specialty, but they're different, but they're also very important. And I want to remind everyone that our agriculture is national security. And if we lose sight of that, we're really in trouble. And on that note, I want to talk a little bit about the Chinese investment that's been allowed in this country. I happen to be right across the street from one of those endeavors. But it absolutely makes no sense that we would allow Chinese to invest in Gulf Hammock, Florida, 12 miles from the Crystal River power plant to do monkey research and create us another COVID virus or something along those lines. That's absolutely amazing. So I hope y'all will take heart the fact that the Chinese are investing in our prime agricultural land in strategic locations, and it's not for their agriculture production, but it's because they intend to take this country over. And if we continue on the course, they're going to take it over without ever firing a shot. So I encourage you to look hard at that and do some things in that regard. The last thing I want to talk about is farm credit. Farm credit, I serve on Farm Credit of Florida as a director, represent over 2,500 member borrowers. And that is very important. That program has been in existence for over 100 years and is necessary. It's the only financial institution that really understands agriculture and make sure that you do everything you can to remain so that Farm Credit can remain a government-sponsored entity, because that's vital. Also, the government support program of the USDA for underprivileged and needy young agricultural people is very important. Lastly, not the Farm Bill, is the OFF Act that's trying to destroy and take away the beef checkoff is absolutely has to be defeated. Please, as Congress people, defeat that and protect our checkoff. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Phillips. Go ahead. recognize the gentleman from Georgia here for a couple comments.
I want to say this one quick. I agree with you on China 100%. I want to encourage you to reach out to your state legislature as well, because land is titled at the state level. And that's one of the challenges with a federal law that deals with the titling of when it occurs at the state level. I've reached out to my state legislature as well, and I think you'll see something done in the state of Georgia on this. And I just encourage you to keep in mind, with land being titled at the state level, state laws is probably the better and quicker way to get at that.
Thank you. All right, moving right along, we have Mr. Mike Elfenbein from Charlotte County Soil and Water, Mr. Tal Coley from the Florida Nursery Growers and Landscape Association, and Mr. Damian Adams from UF IFAS, Associate Dean for Research.
I'll wait till he's done.
There you go. Thank you.
I don't even have to feel guilty about eating this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, GT, Kat, members of the committee. Thank you very, 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 very much for doing this. My name is Mike Elfenbein. I am the chairman of the Charlotte County Soil and Water Conservation District. We are a product of NRCS. I'm also the executive director of the Cypress chapter of the Isaac Walton League of America, a 100-year-old conservation organization. Kat, when you sat down here today, there was this huge look of surprise on your face at the number of people in this room. And I wanted to say to you that you did that. Your leadership, all of the people that you stand for, your commitment to being a good human being, and your unselfish dedication to representing the people, not just the people of Florida 3, but all of the people of the state of Florida, is the reason that this room is full today. Thank you.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
Good. I'm not a farmer. I'm a conservationist. I'm a sportsman. And I'm hyper aware that without farmers and ag, there is no food, there is no wildlife, there is no conservation, and ultimately there is no Florida. The ability to sustain Florida is very much connected to our ability to sustain agriculture in Florida. Earlier, artists said that fertilizer costs have increased 47%. We're sending that 47% and then some to countries that don't like us, like China and Russia and Canada. What I'd like to ask you all today is to find a way to include innovative technology funding in the Farm Bill. Bringing new methodology and technology to the forefront has been incredibly challenging. We've spent the last 3 years proving to state and federal agencies that these technologies work, losing some of the precious time that many of the speakers before me today have mentioned we are short on. That technology has proven to hold some very promising potential for our ag producers and the great state of Florida. We have proven innovative technologies available to mine nutrients from our water bodies and apply them as soil amendments on our ag lands, essentially putting the lands back on the land. Not only improving the production yields of those ag lands, but also improving our soils, sequestering carbon, improving water quality, and showing the world that ag is part of the solution, not part of the problem, and ultimately saving the lands that make Florida, Florida. We want to keep your children's children farming on the same lands that their daddies farmed before, sustainably and profitably. There are opportunities to do that. We just need your support and the funding to make that happen. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Welcome to Florida. My name is Talmadge Coley, Tal, as people call me for short. I am the CEO of the Florida Nursery Growers and Landscape Association. Saw many of you in the last Farm Bill cycle when I worked at American Hort, so I've come back home to Florida to run our state association, the largest nursery and state landscape association in the country. We're second in the country in nursery and greenhouse production. In my first year, I've had to deal with a Cat 4 hurricane, plant pest and disease, you name it, but I wouldn't have it any other way. But on the flip side, as a lifelong Georgia fan, I couldn't think of a better time to come home. Right, Congressman Scott? No, a couple things. We work with American Hort, our national trade association, through the Specialty Crop Farm Bill Alliance. Lots of asks in their materials, but I wanted to focus on a few that I've had some acute experiences with here the last year, mainly around plant pest and disease programs. Currently dealing with the situation on pepper thrips. down in Miami-Dade. I've had some quarantines and whatnot. So these programs like the Plant Pest and Disease Management and Disaster Prevention Program, things like that, National Clean Plant Network, all of these very, very important to our industry. And obviously with Florida, lots of things coming in the state and being on the front lines, those full funding measures are very, very important. Tree Assistance Program, I know that's been brought up a few times. A couple asks there on the back end, the implementation of the program. I think it's a 12-month period when all the work has to be done by. It would be nice to have some flexibility with that time frame, especially when it comes around to availability of the trees that we're growing. It's just not easy to find some of these trees that we grow in Florida, so flexibility around that and around density, because those things are ever changing. Let's see, lastly, caladiums, Lake Placid. We've got a very big situation going on there. Florida is the worldwide producer of caladiums. I think we have about 5, 6, 7 growers. It's probably 10 or less. Through a myriad of things, drought, hurricane, the 9, we're having significant crop loss, and a lot of people are in a world of hurt there. So just wanted to flag that for you. We're going to be in D.C. Next month, so look forward to meeting with many of you to talk through these things. And lastly, I wouldn't leave this podium. Jim Fleming, are you still in here? Jim, can you stand? Yep, he's already standing up. So these are actually Jim's plants everywhere from Tropics Traditions. So Jim, thank you very much for making this place beautiful and bringing a little color in here. And that's it for me, folks. Thank you for being here again.
Hal, thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I'm Damian Adams. I'm Associate Dean for Research at the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and see this turnout. I think it really speaks to the importance of the Farm Bill and the importance of the work that you do. At the University of Florida, we've really leaned in pretty heavily on artificial intelligence. You might have heard a little bit about that, in the lead up to this visit here. We found ourselves the recipient of a tremendous gift from one of our alums that gave us the world's fastest supercomputer in higher education. And along with that, we got to hire a large number of faculty. We've got 15 of those in the College of Ag and Life Sciences. And we are poised to bring the new applications, the new discoveries that we know that our growers need, our producers need more broadly, and our consumers to build a more resilient food and agricultural system and keep our businesses competitive and keep them on the landscape. And there's a little bit of a challenge that comes with that. We're sort of ahead of the curve, I think. And if you listen to our provost, he'll say that we are the first AI university where we're infusing artificial intelligence throughout the curriculum. And whether you're in entomology or basic biological sciences, you're going to learn AI along with your core discipline. And so we're working to do that. But one of the challenges that we have for our faculty that we've just hired on is having the kind of dedicated federal funding that they need to build their research program and to put them in a position to find those discoveries and then bring them to market. And so what I would really encourage in the Farm Bill is an opportunity to fund applied artificial intelligence work. And we have had quite a bit of funding that's come through primarily National Science Foundation, Department of Defense, and a couple of other agencies, but that kind of work tends to be much more basic. It's the kind of research that might lead to actual applications that somebody could use 10 or 15 years down the road. And with AI, I don't know that we can afford to wait that long. USDA is much more focused on identifying solutions that matter to stakeholders now. And I think at UF and at the other land-grant universities, that's the way we operate. We want to identify the solutions that can matter now and in the next few years. And our faculty that are working in AI and other areas, we're ready to do that, but we need your help with that. So I would just really encourage you to look closely at what's happening in terms of applied artificial intelligence, relative to where we've made big investments on the basic side, and I think you'll find a big gap there. And we're ready to fill that gap along with our other partners at other land-grant universities.
Thank you, Dr. Adams.
Thank you.
Dr. Adams, thank you so much.
Our next group of speakers are Mr. Terry Dix from Bar D Ranch, Mr. Travis Thompson from All Florida, and Miss Stephanie Palacios from Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida.
Thank you for having us today, Kat. Thank you for all you do here, okay? I'm going to make it quick. I'm a sixth-generation Floridian, some of the same original land of my forefathers, and it is emotional, as one other person said, and there's a lot going on in this room with agriculture that we thank you for being here and hearing today. But I would like to pass off my time to two men behind me. One is County Commissioner Chair, and one is very knowledgeable of the real estate in our industry, and they will explain to you the bear at the door for us.
Rocky Ford, County Commissioner, District 2 for Columbia County. And one of the main things that is facing our county at this time is a new FEMA flood map that Swan River Water Management is working on at this time. It's way overreaching. It's over 1,500 new parcels of property in Columbia County alone, or south into Columbia County alone, that are showing in the flood zone at this time. It makes absolutely no sense. And we had a workshop with the Board of County Commissioners with Swan River Water Management to address this issue. And basically what we were told is we didn't really have the money to do a study that was feasible for this. So this is what we came up with. But it's really stressing a lot of people in my district. And I asked y'all to have a look at this and see if you can't help out with this map. And Mr. Dix here is the real estate, and he can explain how it's affecting the real estate market at this time.
Be very, very quickly. My name is Brad Dix. I'm a fifth generation Columbia County and part of United Country Real Estate, largest farm and auctioneer company in the United States. And we just got back from our convention where we got to rub shoulders with all our brokers. And I want to tell you something. They're selling farms, but they're not selling to farmers. That was one of the things that come back, and that's real time. Texas is selling farms left and right. There's not a farmer buying them. It's going for development and things like that. So some things are too late, and some things are very important to do. But one thing that this room needs to do, and it may not be as much as this, people, but if you're in the Santa Fe watershed, check your FEMA maps. We do have some two-dimensional of the movement of water, and it seems like there's some garbage in, garbage out, in that. So I would say that everybody, should check their farms. This could be a big thing on the value of your property going up. And don't know how it would affect crop rate insurances, but we are at deer in headlights with some pretty predatory flood zone. I would like to give a shout out to our Water Management District. I think they're ready to fight for us and with us, but they do need our support. They need us to stand behind them. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Travis Thompson. Until recently, I was in Congressman Soto's district, so good to see you here, Congressman. I'm up here to talk. I'm not in the agricultural community, but I am in the conservation community. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you guys for doing this. All my friends are in ag. I'm here with a buddy that's a rancher, and we work really hard on the hunting and fishing side of things. We're really passionate about that. And the Farm Bill, I think a lot of people don't realize, think the number's $20 billion in funding that it'll do for conservation. You know, in our state, we love to talk about the wildlife corridor. I heard a citrus grower earlier mention the significance of citrus as you provide connectivity between wild areas. We have our ranchers, which provide just a huge boon in our state. So please just be aware of that. We want to make sure that RCPP, VPA, HIP, those funds that go for conservation programs are fully funded, continue to be funded, and also that the state has staffing, that we have staffing to be able to roll those programs out to these ranchers and these folks that are just champions of conservation in our state, for us as sportsmen and for them as agriculture. So thank you guys for your time. Appreciate you being here.
Travis, thanks so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Palacios, and I'm here representing Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida. We serve 7 counties. On the north end, we serve Marion County, and on the south end, we serve Osceola County. So I'm here to, number one, thank all of the growers in the room. We could not distribute 81 million meals without the help of every single grower and the growers of the state of Florida. They are essential in the work that Second Harvest Food Bank does. The next thing I want to say is TFAP. I know that there hasn't been a lot of mention of the nutrition title, but Second Harvest Food Bank, our TFAP commodities are down by 30%. This is after Hurricane Ian. This has really hit the neighbors that we're serving. Those bags that we're handing out, they're lighter without that TFAP funding. So we would ask that you all reauthorize an increase to $500 million per year in mandatory funding for food purchases. Thank you so much, and please don't forget about the nutrition title.
Stephanie, thank you so much. I assure you we're not forgetting about the nutrition title. Farmers feed and nutrition matters. So.
All right. Up next, we have Miss Brittany Nickerson Thurlow from Southeast Milk, Mr. Sammy Wright from the National Cotton Council, and Mr. Elio Shirelli from Ducks Unlimited.
Hi there. My name is Brittany Thurlow. I'm a dairy farmer from Hardy County, Florida. Today I'd like to address 3 items as it relates to dairy. I'll start with PMVAP. Pandemic Market Volatility Assistance Program was created to fill the gap where COVID-related market inequities impacted milk price. The first round of PMVAP was very much appreciated. However, in my opinion, it was not well executed. Not only did those farms like myself who reached the 5 million pound cap all receive exactly the same, no matter their production, but there were other rules to the program that allowed some farmers to benefit more than others. I mention this for 2 reasons. One, to point out the inequities of the program, but more importantly, to caution you all in programs going forward, whether Farm Bill related or special circumstance, please make sure programs do not have silly rules or exceptions benefiting some farms more than others. This is already a problem with the production limits on most programs. As for PMVAP2, the program was announced on January 23rd. Today is April 24th, and while we have submitted everything required, we are still waiting on program funding. The money is there and your farmers need it, so anything you can do to push USDA on distributing those funds, we would appreciate it. The next item I'd like to touch on is federal order updates and pricing updates. As you may be aware, federal order modernization efforts are underway. One item I'll specifically mention is in regard to the Class 1 mover calculation. The former change that the calculation moving from the higher of to the average of Class 3 and 4 plus 74 cents was supposed to be revenue neutral to farmers, but it's hurt us a lot. That formula change took place in the last Farm Bill, and while there's consensus in our industry that we need to reverse the change, and we're pursuing that in the federal order process, I would pose the question to you all. Is changing the Class 1 calculation back to the higher of something we can accomplish in the Farm Bill and make a more timely correction? I won't pretend to know the intricacies of what method is most appropriate, but to a farmer who is in desperate need of every penny I'm able to earn, I see this as an issue that was created in the Farm Bill and could be easily remedied by a Farm Bill. Finally, I'd like to address Hurricane Ian relief. My farm sits 3 miles north of the eye path of Hurricane Ian. We had structural loss, cattle loss, flooding, and significant post-storm implications on our farm, most notable of which was milk production loss. While there are programs through FSA geared to assist us, personally, I've not qualified or received anything from those programs, and our family's dairy was the second most impacted by the storm. Fortunately, Congress made changes last year that now allow USDA to reimburse for production loss, and And while we finally qualify, we're still waiting. USDA is sitting on the funds that are urgently needed, and we need your help to get those monies distributed. I want to thank you all for your time today and for listening to the needs of your farmers. I hate to be one to come up here and appear to have my hand out, but the fact is we need it. We earned the money lost during the pandemic, we earned the money lost in the calculation change, and we earned the money lost due to the storm. But for a multitude of reasons, we did not receive it. I will tell you that for my family, these events have helped to put us in the unbearable position to list our farm for sale 37 days ago. If sold, my farm will be the 57th to close since 2017, leaving only 53 dairy farms in Florida. I'm a fifth-generation dairy farmer, and I want to be here to continue my family's legacy of serving my fellow Floridians with fresh, local, and nutritious dairy products. But we need a fair playing field and programs that complement the health and vitality of all farmers. Please help us accomplish that. Thank you.
Thank
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to address the committee today. My name is Sammy Wright, and I'm the Vice President of Chickasha of Georgia. Chickasha is a cottonseed marketing company located in Tifton, Georgia, that is owned by cotton ginners and growers. We're proud to be the home of Congressman Austin Scott, a friend and advocate for agriculture. Thank you, Austin, for everything you do. Today, I want to focus on the non-recourse marketing loan program, which provides significant marketing flexibility for growers. As a cornerstone of cotton's safety net, there are aspects of the marketing loan that should be reviewed and improved upon in the next Farm Bill. These include allowing storage credits to better reflect actual storing charges, adjust the formula for determining the loan repayment price during times of low prices to better reflect the global marketplace. Furthermore, since these enhancements only kick in times of low prices, I believe the budget impact should be minimal. The current Farm Bill should also establish marketing loan repayment provisions for ELS cotton producers. That's extra long staple cotton. It should be noted that ELS cotton is the only loan-eligible commodity in the Farm Bill for which the non-recourse loan does have the marketing loan function. We hope the committee will see fit to establish this provision in the next Farm Bill. Despite the increasing competition from imported textile and apparel products, the U.S. textile industry proved its resilience during the COVID pandemic by quickly shifting their manufacturing facilities to the production of personal protection equipment. The ability of the U.S. textile industry to maintain its production and employment base can be attributed to the continued benefits of the Economic Adjustment Assistance for textile mills. While initially established at a payment rate of 4 cents a pound, the program was cut in previous farm bills due to budget savings. We urge that the payment be restored to 4 cents per pound. Finally, I want to emphasize the importance of the Market Access Program, sometimes referred to as MAP, and the Foreign Market Development Program, FMD. For an industry that exports 85% of its production, these programs support U.S. cotton exports and other ag commodities. MAP has not been increased since 2006, and 1/3 of funding has been lost due to sequestration, inflation, and program administration. With market volatility and economic disruptions causing greater risk and uncertainties, the new Farm Bill can provide the necessary resources for U.S. agriculture exports to remain competitive.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Sammy, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chairman Thompson and committee. First, I want to thank you for being here, and it's an honor to be before you today. My name is Elio Shirelli, and today I'm representing Ducks Unlimited. I'm a volunteer here locally and also have the support of the Congresswoman at many of our events and greatly appreciate that. It's a volunteer organization. It's the largest waterfowl conservation organization with over 1 million supporters, and I'm today representing 17,000 Floridians in that organization. Also local here to the county, have a small ranch as well as perennial peanut production.
And we are proud supporters of DU, and the Farm Bill is also a proud supporter of DU, and we have a long partnership with farmers and ranchers to deliver voluntary conservation. And we look forward to continue to work with you and your committee in these efforts. Conservation programs included in the Farm Bill are a key part of the safety net used by farmers and ranchers to maximize on-farm efficiency. The reason why it's so effective is because maintaining soil health and water quality and land conservation is not just because it's a good thing to do. It's because it helps feed America, and it's because those individuals, there are no better conservationists than farmers and ranchers and growers. And we believe that dollars in their hands make the biggest difference in conservation in this country. Conservation is in high demand across this land, and particularly how DU and friends practice it. We practice voluntary and incentive-based conservation. It is an effective use of those dollars in the hands of the right people who are on the land every day. We hope to see strong support in the next Farm Bill as we have in the past. Strong support for wetland and grass production continues to be a need for waterfowl production areas. We also look for strong support for programs for voluntary working lands, such as the Regional Conservation Program, such as the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, and the Conservation Stewardship Program, as well as the CRP program. Again, we believe putting the dollars in the hands of the people that are feeding America and that are the great conservationists are great use of those dollars, and we look forward to your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
In our next group, we have Mr. Roberto Ortez from Florida Crystals, Mr. Christopher Aiden from the University of Florida College of Vet Med, and Miss Susan King from Feeding Northeast Florida.
Good afternoon to the House Committee of Agriculture. My name is Roberto Ortez, and I'm from Belglade, Florida, which is located just south of Lake Okeechobee. I'm an assistant farm manager for Florida Crystals, growing sugarcane in rotation with rice and winter vegetables in western Palm Beach County. When most people think of our county, they think of it for its beautiful beaches, but they fail to realize that we are the largest agriculturally producing county in the state of Florida and east of the Mississippi. A large portion of this production is attributed to the work done by the farmers in what's known as the Everglades agricultural area, of which I'm proud to be one of. Agriculture is part of our culture in the Glades, and we take pride in that. Most of my family is directly involved in the industry, either through R.C. Hatton or Florida Crystals, so because of that, I was able to start working in agriculture at a very young age, at 14, and I've been able to work myself from weeding fields to now managing thousands of acres and on a daily basis. I also just graduated from the University of Florida with a bachelor's in environmental management and agriculture and natural resources. Somehow, farmers in the Glades seem to have a negative reputation, even though the work that we do on a daily basis is aimed at sustainability and conservation of our natural resources. My ask to the House today is that you oppose any changes that will weaken the sugar policy. We need a strong safety net for the farmers and the 20,000 livelihoods in the state of Florida that depend on sugar to bring home provide for their families. Florida Crystals just recently earned their regenerative organic certification, and that is a testament to our commitment to a greener future and a more sustainable agriculture. The sugar industry has helped build my community, and it gives us the opportunity and the privilege to manage the beautiful resources that God gave the Glades on a daily basis. I love Florida agriculture, but there's nothing like the Everglades agricultural area. They asked me to pick out 40 stalks of cane, and I went yesterday and cut them myself in the Florida heat and brought them up today, and that's a testament that you could always count on a Florida farmer. So one last thing we say back home, and I hope you guys take with you, is no land, no farms, no food. Thank you.
Alberto, thank you very much.
Hey there, my name's Chris Aiden, and I'm here to represent the veterinary profession both locally and nationally. First, I want to say how honored I am to be at an event that is probably the most American that I've experienced in my 50-something years. We have elected officials listening to people that produce an important resource in our community, and I just feel honored to be here. I wanted to mention that the future of those food producers is closely tied to the future of my profession, veterinary medicine. And many of you know that there's a critical shortage of veterinarians in our country. Our school, like many others, has increased class size, but we also have programs to encourage students to pursue food animal practice as a career. There's a particular shortage of food animal veterinarians who will be willing to work in rural areas. Even people that grow up in a farming community and have that as part of their heritage and are passionate to pursue it have difficulty in doing so because of the debt that's incurred in pursuing veterinary medicine. And one important part of the Farm Bill is reauthorization of the veterinary medicine loan repayment program, which incentivizes those people who, because of economic reasons, may not be able to go back into their community without having their debts repaid. The second part of the Farm Bill that we would like to have reauthorized is the support for FAIR-ED, the food animal residue avoidance database, which is part of 5 colleges of veterinary medicine. It helps to support producers in detecting important drug or chemical residues that would potentially contaminate our food resource. The UC Davis College, as well as UF, Kansas State, Virginia, Maryland, and one other that I'm forgetting, participate in that program. And we would like to make sure that that's supported. In fact, the American Association of Veterinary Medical Colleges has asked that we increase the support from $2.5 million to $5 million in the Farm Bill because of the increased cost of doing that research and maintaining those programs. Thank you for your time.
Dr. Eden, thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here on behalf of Feeding Northeast Florida, speaking for Susan King. My name's Coleman Shepard. I'm going to reiterate a little bit about what Stephanie was mentioning earlier, which is reauthorizing TFAP. It is vitally important to the Charitable Food Network that we get that support. It allows us to source those fresh fruits and vegetables from our farmers into our communities to the people that need it most and are impacted heavily by inflation and things like that and grocery costs going up. So without that funding, it's going to create gaps that we just don't have the capacity to fill. And a lot more people are going to go hungry without the TFAP reauthorization. So thank you.
Coleman, thank you.
Next, we have Dr. Ashby Green from the Florida Cattlemen's Association, Mr. Sam Watson from Georgia Fruit and Vegetable Growers, and Ms. Carla Shelnut from UF, as she's an associate professor.
Good afternoon, Congressman and distinguished guest. I'd just like to offer that God bless you all for standing on the wall for American agriculture. What a great day this has been. I'm Dr. Ashby Green, veterinarian and rancher from High Springs, Florida. For the past 50 years, I've been an active cattle producer and served in various roles in my veterinary profession. I'm submitting written comments. As most of my friends would tell you, I can't say hello in 2 to 3 minutes. We appreciate your listening today as the 2023 Farm Bill is developed at a critical time in our nation's conservation and food security efforts. Funding for the National Animal Disease Preparedness and Response Bank Program, National Animal Vaccine and Veterinary Countermeasures Bank, and National Animal Health Laboratory Network is critical to continued food security for our country. Imagine if we'd had a vaccine bank when COVID-19 hit our shores, killing millions of people and destroying food security and delivery for a period of time. Now, we haven't had foot and mouth disease since 1929 in this country by the grace of God and hard work by a lot of the people in this room, including people in this room. But it could be here tomorrow. And if that virus arrives, it will create a lockdown on food distribution in this country that'll make COVID-19 look like a picnic. Congressman Scott, there won't be a truck or trailer with animals leaving the state of Florida crossing into Georgia. There won't be feed crossing either direction.
We've not seen the kind of lockdown that would occur if that disastrous disease hits this country. And I might add, if you remember when it hit Great Britain, y'all recall the reports of the suicides that occurred after the depopulation that took place of lifelong investments in cattle in that country. So thank you for assuring continued funding via the Farm Bill to maintain current conservation and animal health preparedness programs to meet our ever-growing food supply needs in the United States and the world.
Dr. Green, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Sam Watson. I am a vegetable grower in Georgia 08 with Congressman Scott there. I also serve as president of the Georgia Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association and also serve in the Georgia State Senate representing District 11 down in South Georgia. I'm here today to highlight an uneven playing field that is leaving Georgia producers and producers in other states at a severe disadvantage to foreign competitors. USDA's August 22 outlook for U.S. agriculture trade forecasts that U.S. imports of agricultural products will grow in fiscal 2023 to a record high of $197 billion, creating a trade deficit in agricultural commodities. Fueled by government investments in protected agriculture and wages that are a fraction of those mandated to U.S. producers, imports of Mexican fruit and vegetables have surged over 500% since 2001 and now jeopardize the very future of Georgia producers. Let me put this plainly. There are many occasions when the Georgia farmers are forced to leave perfectly good fresh fruits and vegetables to rot in the field because imports have driven prices to the point where I lose money by picking and packing produce for my customers. In an age of food insecurity and limited access to healthy foods in both urban and rural areas, we should be ashamed of the fact that our trade and labor policies result in such waste. We want to propose a solution in the form of a 2023 Farm Bill initiative. The implementation of a seasonal program is essential for U.S. seasonal and perishable fruit and vegetable production industry. If we fail to address the competitiveness of U.S. growers, we may soon find ourselves reliant on other nations for our food. Food security is national security. And as we learned during the pandemic, our supply chains face enough challenges without depending on importing our food from foreign countries. And also just want to echo some of the comments about updating our risk management tools with our producers and the technology, spending on technology and resources there, especially when it comes to our specialty crops. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Mr. Watson, thank you so much. Yield to Mr. Scott had a couple comments.
Sam, how many farmers do you know that actually were asked to fill out the wage rate survey that led to the 20% increase in the wage rates?
Zero.
Okay.
That's a good question for everyone. Why don't you simply raise your
well,
hand?
but he's head of the Georgia Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association, correct?
Yes, sir.
And a state senator, and has been farming. I mean, our part of the world, a tremendous number of fruit and vegetables that were just forced to pay a 20% wage rate increase, and none of us know anybody who was surveyed.
Correct.
Okay, I'll ask it. Were any of you in this room surveyed?
If you were, raise your hand. If you got a Department of Labor survey regarding
that led to the 20% wage rate increase? I literally can find nobody who was surveyed that led to the 20% wage rate increase.
Yeah, across the country, we get the same response. You wonder who these bureaucrats are talking. They're talking to themselves, I guess.
That's right.
Mr. Watson, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good to see you again, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gainesville. My name is Carla Shalnut. I'm an associate professor and extension nutrition specialist in the Department of Family, Youth, and Community Sciences at the University of Florida. I also have the pleasure of leading the UF-IFAS Extension federally funded nutrition education programs, which include SNAP education as well as FNEP. And today I wanted to spend some time talking about the importance of the SNAP education program, which is the education component of the SNAP program. So our SNAP Ed nutrition educators provide nutrition education to families eligible for SNAP benefits in 30 of Florida's 67 counties. With the steep increase in food prices, many SNAP-eligible families struggle to put nutritious food on the table, but that's where we come in. SNAP-Ed improves nutrition security by teaching families how to buy nutritious food on a budget. We teach strategies to help them stretch their food dollar and maximize their SNAP benefits. In addition, we help change policies and food environments to help make the healthy choice the easy choice. So whether it's putting in a garden at a school or at a community, working with farmers at a farmer's market to accept EBT, or partnering with agencies to rescue food and redistribute that food to families that need it, our work increases access to healthy food so families can make the healthier choice they learn about in our classes. I also wanted to highlight the importance of the land-grant university as an organization to deliver this program across the state. We have the statewide reach, capacity, and expertise to deliver SNAP education. Our strength is education and evaluation. We can leverage the expertise of faculty at the University of Florida in nutrition, education, agriculture, as well as evaluation to support our work in SNAP-Ed to continue delivering the evidence-based programs that produce impact in these counties. And I've shared our little impact report with you so you can see all of the good work we're doing in our counties. So lastly, I just wanted to invite you guys to come visit one of our programs, especially our Florida representatives. Whether you want to come to a school and watch our educators teach the kids where their food comes from, or spend the day in the garden with the kids, they love to show off what they've grown. But we'd love to have you, and I just want to thank you so much for your time, and it's very good to be here. Thanks.
Carla, thank you so much.
Our next speakers are Mr. Joe Bodiford from the Georgia Peanut Commission, Mr. Ron Mahan from Tamiami Citrus, and Mr. Alan Shelby from the Florida Forestry Association.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Bodiford. I am chairman of the Georgia Peanut Commission and a peanut grower from Sylvania, Georgia. I was born and raised on a farm in Scriven County, and farming has been in my blood all of my life. Farming often requires sacrifices that most people are not willing to make. I am a fifth-generation farmer and working on my 50th full-time crop. Fortunately, I have a 28-year-old son who has followed in my footsteps, and I want to do all that I can to make sure that he is successful also. And good farm policy is essential for that to happen. We grow peanuts, corn, and cotton in East Georgia. Georgia peanut growers support the current 2018 Farm Bill's price loss coverage program for peanuts. Unfortunately, input costs in the last few years have skyrocketed. And we find ourselves with a reference price that is too low, and it's caused the PLC program not to be an effective safety net for peanuts. We asked the committee to increase the reference price for peanuts in the 2023 Farm Bill. Dr. Stanley Fletcher, our peanut economist, has spent more than 20 years developing the peanut representative farms. We now have 23 peanut representative farms across the peanut belt. That's from Virginia all the way to New Mexico, and it's expanded up into Arkansas now. Dr. Fletcher's research on these farms indicate that we have seen a significant increase in the cost of production from the 2021 crop to the 2022 crop. Variable input costs such as fuel, fertilizer, chemicals, labor have pushed our peanut cost of production from $546 per ton in 2021 to $668 in 2022. We are seeing these same increased costs as we head into the 2023 crop. Supply chain issues for equipment, parts, repairs have only added to the cost of producing a crop. We support a voluntary base update for those farm regions of the U.S. that are struggling to operate without a farm safety net. We recognize that the budget situation presents challenges to writing a good 2023 Farm Bill, but we trust that you will do the best job possible to assure America maintains its food security. Remember, it is vital to our food supply, health, and national security that Congress develop a new farm bill that will provide a true safety net in these trying and uncertain times. Thank you very much.
Joe, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Chairman Thompson, thank you, and members of the committee. I appreciate you all being here today, listening to all of us as we talk about our issues related to agriculture. My name is Ron Mahan. I'm with Tamiami Citrus. I grow oranges and tangerines on 7,500 acres and 4 citrus groves in South Florida. A little bit far from home, but actually I'm from High Springs, a little agricultural town just a little, maybe 20 miles north of here. I grew up and was always on farms. I've worked on watermelon fields, in tobacco barns, and poultry operations not far from where we're sitting right now. I graduated from Santa Fe High School in 1980. It seems like a long time ago now, but in the 40 years following my graduation, there were 628 invasive pests, exotic pests, that established populations in the state of Florida. And those populations have done significant damage to our crops, our livestock, and to our environment. The Farm Bill provisions that deal with the diseases and the pests that we have to deal with are very important to Florida agriculture and probably agriculture across the country. One of those pests is called the Asian citrus psyllid. This is a little flying bug that travels from tree to tree, feeding on young flush of a citrus tree. As it does so, it spreads a bacteria, which is the causal agent for Wang Long Bing, or otherwise known as greening disease. Some of my colleagues alluded to it earlier, but the citrus industry has been devastated by greening disease. In the early 2000s, we were producing 200 to 240 million boxes of oranges a year in this state. This year, well, before the hurricane impact, we would have only produced about 30 million boxes at most. Hurricane Ian cut that in half. So we are producing this year about 6 to 7 or 8% of what we used to be able to produce in this state. Now, we have a lot of hope in the tools that we've gained from research. Research has been funded by the USDA, IFAS, and through the Farm Bill that have helped us. My company, we've planted about 700,000 trees, new citrus trees, just in the last 7 or 8 years, using the latest in research that's been provided, both in the varieties that were selected and the trees that we're planting, as well as in the tools that we're using in managing those groves. But a lot of that was based upon the research that had been funded, and I encourage you in the Farm Bill to continue making that funding. Specifically, the $25 million a year that goes into the Emergency Citrus Disease Research and Development Trust Fund. We would like that to continue, and I urge you to also increase the funding for IR4, as well as the Specialty Crop Research Initiative and the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program. These things are vital, I think, to Florida agriculture and certainly Florida citrus. And finally, this is not really a Farm Bill issue, although a couple of my colleagues have indicated and mentioned block grants before. Back in December, the Congress appropriated funds for disaster assistance, specifically for Florida citrus, through the omnibus bill. The funds are available to the Secretary of Agriculture to use it to help the citrus industry. However, there's not a program, process, or procedure for him to get those funds to most of the Florida citrus industry. In fact, they would be held up. There is legislation proposed that authorizes him to use the block grant program. Already set up, the machinery and people are in place to do it, and while it's not a Farm Bill issue, I would encourage you and your fellow congressmen to kind of support that. The money's been appropriated. Florida citrus, we have some hope in the tools, but we just, we need the funding to recover from the hurricanes that have hurt us last year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alan Shelby. I represent the Florida Forestry Association out of Tallahassee. Just wanted to touch on a few things. You've heard from several of our members and folks in the timber industry about Hurricane Michael. We're not going to go back over that, but Hurricane Michael, was a blow to the nose to the Florida Panhandle, as well as South Georgia and some of Alabama, wiped out 2.3 million acres of prime timberland in the North Florida area. One of the issues that hadn't been touched on is the Good Neighbor Authority, which allows the U.S. Forest Service to partner with the Forest Service agencies in various states to expedite timber harvest and management activities on the U.S. forest lands. That has never been more important than it is to some of the consuming mills along the edge or perimeter of the Hurricane Michael impact zone. That area is bordered by Apalachicola National Forest, which was largely not impacted by the hurricane. Everything to the west of those mills was part of that hurricane impact zone, and the mature timber, the older timber, was wiped out. So that's really a major part. That program is really what's keeping those manufacturing mills, sawmills, pole and piling mills in business. Obviously, those are big employers in those small rural communities, and we urge you to continue and enhance that Good Neighbor Authority. And thank you for coming to Florida.
Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate you.
And Mr. Chairman, we have just our final three speakers. So our last three speakers are Mr. Ken Barton with the Florida Peanut Producers Association, Mr. Jake Rayburn with the Florida Strawberry Growers Association, and Mr. Marty Smith, a local cattle producer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and staff, thank you for bringing the Farm Bill listening session to Florida. My name is Ken Barton. I'm here today representing the Florida Peanut Producers Association. We are a grower checkoff organization representing and working on behalf of Florida's peanut farmers. I am also own and operate a diversified row crop cattle and timber operation in Holmes County, Florida. Florida Peanut Producers Association supports the current 2018 Farm Bill Price Loss Coverage, or PLC, program for peanuts. Unfortunately, input costs have hit Florida peanut growers as well as other farmers all around this country extremely hard. Our peanut economist research on peanut representative farms indicates that we have seen a significant increase in the cost of production from 2021 crop to the 2022 crop. Variable input costs such as fuel, fertilizer, crop protection materials, freight rates, labor, just to name a few, have pushed our peanut cost of production from $564 per ton in 2021 to $668 per ton in 2022. We are seeing the same increased inputs cost as we head into this 2023 crop. The supply chain issues, equipment, parts, repair, etc., have only added to our increased cost of production. We find ourselves with a reference price that is too low and has caused the PLC program not to be an effective safety net for peanuts. We respectfully ask the committee to consider increasing the reference price for peanuts in the 2023 Farm Bill. However, to participate in the Price Loss Coverage Program, or PLC program, for peanuts, peanut base acres must have been established on that particular farm. Florida Peanut Producers Association supports a voluntary base update so that all growers who have a history of peanut production will be able to operate under the price loss coverage safety net. We recognize the budget problems that you're facing as the House Ag Committee and as our representatives. Writing this farm bill will be extremely difficult. Mr. Chairman, distinguished committee members, I thank you again for allowing me to make a few comments today.
Ken, thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, thank you for having us here today. My name is Jake Rayburn, and I am a strawberry grower at Hinton Farms Produce. Our family's been growing strawberries here in Florida for 70 years. I also serve as the president of the Florida Strawberry Growers Association. I thought it was interesting that Senator Watson from Georgia spoke earlier and mentioned the issues that specialty crop growers in Georgia had been facing, just like strawberry growers in Florida and other specialty crop growers with trade issues and unfair trade practices from our neighbors to the south in Mexico. I'd like to thank Representative Cammack for her efforts, one of the efforts to combat that, and her Farmers Feeding Americans Act. And I would encourage members of the committee to support that and incorporate that into the Farm Bill moving forward. In order to make up ground the United States has lost in the public investment space in agri-food research and development, it's imperative that the 2023 Farm Bill creates a robust and recurring spending program. Without making this type of adjustment and investment, the United States will continue to feed the gap in competitive advantage between our country and other countries like China and Brazil. Given the changes that we are experiencing in climate, volatile market adjustments, and increasing pest pressures, the United States must increase efforts to raise awareness, raise knowledge capital to promote innovative practices which enhance productivity and advancements, pushing U.S. agriculture to remain competitive in the current arena. Earlier, we heard from the UF Dean of Research about the need for funding efforts in artificial intelligence and applied research centers and technology for agriculture around the United States. And we learned about the new supercomputer that the University of Florida has. That's another big specific ask that we need in the Farm Bill for this year is funding for applied research centers for agriculture in the United States, and specifically for the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences here in Florida, so that we can take that artificial intelligence and apply that research in specialty crop industries so that we can solve some of our issues when it comes to the labor need that we're going to continue to have, and we're going to continue to need to find solutions for those problems as we look at artificial intelligence and how to apply that in our field. So I'd like to ask that if you can turn your attention, all the strawberry growers in the room, if you wouldn't mind standing to show the members here. And if you haven't had a chance yet, there's strawberry shortcake in the back. So thank you for being here.
That's delicious.
And before our last speaker, we'll have Mr. Jed Mathis. And we apologize sincerely for not getting to everyone, but if you submitted a card, the committee staff will follow up with you. So Mr. Jed Mathis and then Mr. Marty Smith.
Thank you, ma'am. Chairman Thompson and members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Chad Mathis, and I, along with my father, brother, we farm cotton, corn, and peanuts in Baker County, Georgia. I have the privilege of representing 3,500 cotton farmers as a director on the Georgia Cotton Commission. I also serve as an officer to Southern Cotton Growers. I'm active in the National Cotton Council, American Cotton Producers, and the Cotton Incorporated. Our farm has been in our family for generations, and I'm hopeful that my brother and I will hand it over to a combined 5 children in the future. Like many other rural communities across the country, the backbone of my hometown, Arlington, is production agriculture. The long-term viability of both my family's farm and our local community hinge on a farm safety net that keeps farms sustainable. The framework of the cotton safety net programs through the ARC and PLC for seed cotton is working well. However, the current safety net offered is not reflective of the current cost of production. These programs, along with marketing loans and crop insurance tools, need to be enhanced to adequately reflect the production environment today. I, like all producers in the state, will plant cotton this year knowing that I will take a significant financial loss on each acre and will likely not see any assistance from the farm safety net, therefore eating into the equity of our farm. Despite all of this, I continue to stick my crop rotation of cotton, peanuts, and corn because it's environmentally sound. Our rotation helps us grow the most sustainable crop we can, cutting down on carbon emissions and the use of fungicides, pesticides, and fertilizers. Further investment in Title I programs will strengthen the foundation of rural communities. Thank each and every one of y'all for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Marty Smith. I'm a cattle producer from about 15 miles away, right in the middle of Representative Cammack's district, right on the Alachua and Marion County lines. Family's been there since 1850, but I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to talk about the future, and I want to talk about some positive things. Particularly as we look forward to the Farm Bill, I will say that, you know, part of my background, I served as president of Florida Cattlemen's Association many years ago, and then managed to end up as president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association during the pandemic. So been very involved in this political process for quite a while, and really appreciate you coming to my backyard and listening to my fellow producers, even my fellow producers from Georgia with my fraternity brother Sam Watson, and a few more. Like, by the way, I think us Bulldogs have got a majority here. We're in good shape. I did graduate from UF several times too, but my heart lies with boo like you want to back there, and take 30 seconds off my time. It was positive, bro. In any event, I was talking specifically about the impact of the Farm Bill on the cattle industry. I'm really here to say we're not really asking for anything. Programs that are in place are working, particularly with our risk management stuff. We talk about future generations and how do we involve them in and get them back on the farm, back on the ranch. Livestock risk program, use of that has grown tremendously over the last 2 years as Congress and USDA made it more user-friendly. The crop protection or the forage protection, what we call rain insurance, has really worked out to our benefit. We're not asking for additional funding for that. We just ask for that to be continued. One of the last things that I did with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association was to chair a sustainability goals task force. One of the goals, and we talk a lot and we hear so much through the press about sustainability. Let me say first, there is no sustainability without the food supply and the food security that is being talked about by so many speakers here today. That doesn't do us any good to be sustainable if we don't have food. America's farmers and ranchers are the ones producing that. So I asked for this. Instead of asking for funding, let's incentivize some of these programs with things like carbon sequestration, particularly here in Florida where we do produce so much greenery year-round and we do sequester so much carbon. Let's recognize that, let's incentivize that, let's provide the research within the Farm Bill to show what we're doing and how we're doing that. There has been some talk, though, about a separate title for the livestock segment. Would ask you particularly, we're not asking for a separate title. It's not something that works. It doesn't help producers. It would just turn over more regulation, more cost, and put them in the hands of a lot of bureaucrats and a lot of people out there that really don't like what we do and want to see us out of business. So with that, thank you very much for coming here. Thanks for coming home and bringing this group with you. Y'all have a great trip and great day.
Marty, thank you very much. All right, let's we're going to do some closing remarks here. First of all, thank you to everybody that that came today. I will say that our moderator did a great job. How about a big hand for our moderator? You know, we had in New York about a little over a week ago, Binghamton, New York. We're actually in Broome County where the Farm Bureau was born. Which was kind of cool, doing a Farm Bill hearing there. And we set a new record in a little over 2 hours. We did 35 with our great moderator. We got 47 today. So, yeah. And there's folks I know that we're looking forward to being able to speak, and we want your voice. We need your voice at the table. And so that, and there's a couple ways to do that. That QR code is one where you'll be able to submit there. If you've got something in writing, we'll be glad to take it today. If you put your email address, contact information on one of those comment cards, we will reach out to you and give, so you know how to email that. I mean, we need your voice at the table, and I wish we had, with a group this size, it looks like, I wish we had 3 days to be able to get everybody's comments today. But we can get your voice at the table using all that. So I want to recognize our host, member of Congress. We're going to check in with all of our my colleagues here for any closing remarks they'd like to make, but I'm pleased to yield to the gentlelady from Florida.
Well, I can't tell you guys how humbling it is to see so many people that I've known for so long. This is more of a family reunion in a lot of respects for myself and our team. So thank you guys so much for everyone who has made the very long drive. I know people have come from South Florida, from the Panhandle, from Georgia. I know that must have been a little painful coming across that Florida-Georgia line, especially since it's called the Florida-Georgia line. No, there are not enough thanks for everyone being here in the room. I know so many people were in line to give some testimony, and we didn't get the chance to get to you. Miss Nikki Perez, I know you were one of them, but please make sure that you follow up with us, leave those comment cards. For my team cat in the room, please raise your hands. Jessica, Larry, Adeline, Christina over here. Normally I give my cell phone number out very readily. There is media in the room, so I'm a little bit concerned it might end up on a truck stop, bathroom wall. But if you did not, say backwards, yeah. If you did not get a chance to get your comments out today because we ran out of time, please grab one of my team members. They will happily give you my cell phone number, much to their chagrin, but they will absolutely do that because you never know what you don't know. That is the theory that we subscribe to. You don't know what you don't know. And even though I grew up in ag and I love ag, there's still so much more that I don't know that we need your input and expertise. So thank you. Thank you to University of Florida. You guys have been amazing in helping host this, the expertise and the support that you give to our farmers. Thank you to ASO for providing security today. We love you guys. To all of the advisors, parents, and the FFA students, y'all have been killing it today. I've never seen an operation like this before. This is amazing. There's not enough thanks to Chairman Thompson for his leadership and what he is doing in really crafting a thoughtful, really truly thoughtful and productive and effective farm bill. My colleagues, they have been so dedicated in traveling the country. Thank you guys so much for coming to the real swamp, the Gator Nation. And I just want to end with, we are all committed, Republicans, Democrats. We don't approach this as a party or a partisan issue. We approach this as an American farm bill. And so we're committed to changing the narrative that food security is national security. We want to bring down the cost of doing business and reduce the cost of inputs. When we think of certainty, we want that short-term certainty, but more importantly, that long-term certainty. For me, it's a personal mission to take on the regulatory regime. There is no faceless, nameless bureaucrat in Washington that knows our issues better than we do. So we're going to take that power back from Washington, D.C. and put it back in your hands. And finally, we are going to modernize our agricultural industry so that the next generation of farmers can stand strong and continue on the great tradition that we have in feeding and clothing our nation. So thank you guys so much for showing up and showing out. I can't tell you how proud I am. I actually cried a little bit up here, but thank you for showing how amazing and how strong Florida Ag is. Thank you guys.
Very good. Thank you, gentlelady. Now, please recognize the gentlelady from Maine, Congresswoman Pingree, for any closing remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Really appreciate that you're taking the time to hold these listening sessions all over the country. It's so helpful to all of us on the committee when we get a chance to participate and learn more about agriculture in other parts of the country. And thank you so much, Representative Cammack, to having us in your district here. We're so well taken care of, thanks to everybody who has taken such good care of us, fed us well, given us all kinds of gifts. I've never seen such a gorgeous looking table in front of us of this delicious produce. I just want to start chopping and cooking right here. It looks so good. And also Representative Soto, who also represents Florida. Florida is very well represented by their two magnificent people on the Agriculture Committee. While Maine is a very small agriculture state, we have some of the same concerns that you do. We are a specialty crop producer. If I had my way in the Farm Bill, we would take the word specialty crop off of it because these are vital fruits and vegetables. We should no longer call them something like a specialty item. But many of the other problems, I won't go through all of them today, but so much of what you've talked about the difficulties of crop insurance related to specialty crops. We don't have the enormous number of disasters that you've dealt with here in Florida, but I hear you loud and clear that the department has to get that money out to people, especially once Congress has allocated it and appropriated it. The FEMA maps, we know a lot about those in Maine, and big concerns that people have mentioned. And just a couple of other things I want to say. People often mention the concerns about farms going onto the market and farms going on the market without farmers, and I think that's something that just can't be said enough. Not only can we not afford to lose any more farms in this country and the farmers and their livelihoods who do it, but when we talk about climate change and some of the challenges, each one of those, somebody said, when you lose a farm, it turns into about a bunch of rooftops, and that's just not good, whether it's forest land or farmland. Maine is also the most forested state in the nation, even though you have a huge industry here. It's very vital to us. So every one of the concerns that people raised about forestry is near and dear to my heart. And just overall, the concerns you've raised about making sure we have enough staffing at USDA agencies, that's just so critical to make sure we're there to help you, the paperwork and the complications of getting that money out, and really all the things you've talked about looking into the future and making sure, as the very last speaker mentioned, that we support our farmers who are sequestering carbon, which so many of you do. Farmers are our partners in dealing with the adverse weather and climate change, and we want to make sure we're there to support all of you. So again, thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciated the chance to be here with all of you today.
Well, thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you for making the trip. Now, please recognize the gentleman that serves not only as a subcommittee chair, but the vice chair of the Full House Agriculture Committee, Congressman Austin Scott.
Thank you, GT. I'm also the people's favorite congressman from Neil Dunn's district, too. Maybe not Cat Cammack's, but the people in the Panhandle. All kidding aside, I want you to know just a little bit about my family briefly. I'm both sets of grandparents were in agriculture from the time I was born. I have a brother, I have a sister, I have 5 first cousins, and none of us are on the farm anymore. And I say that to make this next point, which I think is what scares me for America. If you're not farming today, you're probably not going to be farming tomorrow. And so every one of our farmers that we lose, there's not another one waiting to come take over. Our farms are bigger than they've ever been, which means they are taking more risk than they ever have. And we are more dependent on fewer and fewer people. And when I look at what it takes to stay in farming, whether it be tax policy with and I don't blame this on the current Democrats that are here with them. In fact, I appreciate y'all very much for being level-headed. But taking away stepped-up basis, the federal estate tax. I mean, all of these things are a threat to the survival of our farm families in this country, and that means it's a threat to our food supply in this country. And we have to be smarter about this. 90% of our food comes from about 10% of the farms. And so when we turn around and we talk about income limitations and other things, we need to understand that that's going to impact not just the 10% of the farmers, but it's going to impact the 90% of the food supply that we're dependent on in this country. So I chair the subcommittee, or the commodity subcommittee, I should say, where about 12% of what of Farm Bill spending will go through that subcommittee, and it will deal with every aspect of risk management, which is your cash flow. The thing that's very clear to me is that we've got to move the reference prices so that they reflect the current input prices. The other thing I think we need to do, and we mentioned loan a little bit up here from some people, the loan rates need to be very close to, if not at, the reference price. But whether you have base or not, what comes out of our subcommittee has got to take care of the American producer. It's got to be about the American producer and our food supply. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the members of the committee for being here and GT for his leadership and just the way the committee operates. And thank you so much for your hospitality.
Congressman, thank you so much. Now I'm pleased to recognize for any closing remarks the gentleman that chairs the subcommittee on forestry, Congressman Doug LaMalfa.
I'm going to stand up so I can see you all, plus I've been sitting a while. But what I like about this is here we are in person. Now in Washington, D.C., we've been kind of closed down for a couple of years without committee hearings in person until recently. And we lost a lot of time. We're even a little bit behind on the Farm Bill, aren't we, GT? But we're catching up thanks to our chairman's great leadership. So I'm just couldn't be more delighted how many of you came out here today. And that shows the strength of Cammack right here in her district. But also Darren Soto, great to have another Florida colleague from not too far away as well. So we heard a lot of things today, some encouraging, some discouraging. And for those folks, you know, I think a gentleman with the blueberries there is talking about he doesn't see a future for his kids, right? And it's really tough to stay in this business. My kids are going to be the 5th generation of growing rice in Northern California. And boy, howdy, is it tough to do anything in California, regulatory-wise and environmental-wise, because the water is all being shifted, even at this rate, to go out to sea for some fish deal or something like that. So I'm just, but we're fighting back, and we're going to hopefully build more storage. Anyway, so on the forestry side, yes, I'm proud to be able to chair that subcommittee and get some more sense back into managing our federal lands, but also make more options for private landowners on being able to do the harvest. And I'd like to hear, you know, from the gentleman about the ability to do more prescribed burning. We need that in California. Our prescription is it goes by itself and it burns 1 million acres like it did in my district 2 years ago. That smoke plume reached the East Coast. It ain't working. So, and I'm going to make my own opinion here on this whole climate change deal, all right? And I won't make any of my colleagues have to ride with me on it, but the atmosphere is 0.04% carbon dioxide. Everybody guesses 20, 30, 40, 50, okay? And it's good to make things better and cleaner and you know, better engines and things like that, but I'm not about to try and make everybody drive an electric car or convert your tractors to electric. It won't even work, okay? So remember that, 0.04, it's increased from 0.03. It's like having 3 grains of salt in your shot glass and you add 1 more grain of salt, okay? Carbon is a building block of everything on Earth. Now we will work to do better on pollutants and things like that. But the fellows with the trucks, okay? I have a bill we're working on to get rid of the federal excise tax on trucks. Somebody talked about $350,000 for a truck. That'd be like 42 grand of tax to pay for World War I. It's still to pay for World War I, okay? That's what FET is. We want you to buy better, cleaner, safer new trucks. Why we taxing the heck out of you on that so you can replace them. So look for that bill, as well as we didn't get to talk about labor much today. It isn't really our bailiwick, but I want you to know that we are working on it. We passed a bill twice through the House to make the farm labor more available with legal and licensed, certified farm workers, so we have some level that is reliable in ag workforce. We have a lot to do. Some people didn't like it in certain regions that didn't have everything in it, but we have to get something we can just pass through the House as well as have the commodities be at least somewhat happy with it. So I could go all day on this stuff here, but folks, hang in there. You got to keep showing up. When I got out of college and farmed at home for a little while, I figured I got to go down to Sacramento and talk to those guys about what we do. So I figured one trip to Sacramento was going to be good enough. No, you got to keep showing up. We got to keep talking to these folks in Washington, D.C. and Tallahassee and make your case known. Do not give up, and don't take no for an answer, because it's about being in existence. We need for people to be out in the fields doing the work. It's not all going to be done by robots. That has a piece. We got to have us. We got to have the next kids do it. Thank you. God bless you.
Now, please recognize the gentleman. I was thrilled to continue with the Agriculture Committee from representing Florida 9, Darren Soto.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson, and thank you, Cammack, for hosting us here in this Sunshine State. First of all, thank all of you for helping feed America. Thank you for your ideas. Thank you for your patriotism. Florida faces a lot of challenges, but first I want to start by welcoming our folks from Central Florida and South Florida, and cattle, citrus, blueberries, strawberries are a lot of the big crops, tomatoes in Central Florida, so thank you for being here. But when I look at the challenges facing this amazing peninsula, we got hurricanes, had a pandemic, labor, invasive species, trade issues, costs, taxes, so many different things. We're proud of the work that you do, and the Farm Bill is here to help address some of those issues. While it won't help fix everything out there, it will make things a little easier and make it, more importantly, a nation where you can pass on your farms, your ranches, your groves to the next generation. I need you all to do something for us. Kat and I are both supporting the Farm Bill. We need you to work with every member of the delegation to do the same thing. Don't just assume they're going to vote for it. We need you throughout the state. You got folks from everywhere here, and so talk to your member of Congress. We're going to do great work under Chairman Thompson here, and we're going to pass out a farm bill I know we'll be proud of out of the committee. But we'll need help on that floor vote from every Florida member. We have your backs, and so does Secretary Vilsack. I was proud to see him go to Bartow, just out of my district. We had Undersecretary Sochez Small come to the district as well. We are going to continue to work with the USDA, our partners in this as well. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so honored to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Well, I want to say a huge thank you for everyone that attended today, your endurance, too. You sat through a long time, and I assure you your time was a great investment in us completing a farm bill, of meeting that goal that I set early on for us as a farm team, and that is that we get this done in a bipartisan, bicameral, on time, and quite frankly, highly effective. Anybody can get a farm bill passed if you water it down far enough. We don't want to do that. That's not what America needs. And so I want to say thank you for all that come out, all those who prepared and were able to present, those who prepared and are going to continue to submit information. I want to thank my colleagues for being here. As you can see, this is, we're here on behalf of American agriculture, and we have folks from all over the country with us today. I want to thank our staff, all the congressional staff. You could raise your hand, kind of wave there. These folks are just dedicated and much appreciated, and we couldn't do this without them. I got a pretty simple definition for American agriculture. It is science, technology, and innovation. Always has been. Always has been. Some of those very first days when settlers came here, and maybe they pulled up in this area or into Pennsylvania or Georgia or wherever, and they decided it looked like a good place to put down roots and to provide for their families. But even those folks way back then recognized to some extent that their agriculture was based on science. may be pretty simple and crude and rudimentary, trial and error. But their purposes were pure, to grow enough more food until the following harvest year so fewer family members would die, more would live. And today it's just highly sophisticated. You know, our productivity in we reached a high level about a year or so ago of we've increased productivity 287% since the 1940s. Now this inflation has been hard and has brought it down to a little bit. People smarter than me have figured that number to be about 279%. But we've got a goal that we do the type of farm bill that we can take the productivity of the U.S. agriculture industry to 400% since 1940s by the year 2035. And we can do that with the right policies that we put forward. I want you just to reinforce here, we hear you, and your voices are important. And I want you to stay at the table. You know, as I learned a long time ago, that's saying if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. And we need you at the table in order to get this done. You don't want us writing this farm bill just listening to voices inside the Beltway of Washington. That's why we've worked so hard to be here, and we'll continue this process as we go forward. And we'll have lots of good, intense hearings in Washington, but these listening sessions where we can reach more of you, you know, the folks that really help to make this the number one industry in America, the industry that families rely on more than any other. We're in a listening phase. We're here to listen. You know, there are some folks that prejudge this process. I love the people who think they're really smart, you know, because I read them all the time. That, you know, they talk about, oh, there's just not enough money or the politics are too hard. We don't believe that. You know, but right now we're just listening so we can write the farm bill that American agriculture needs, that rural America needs. Now, I like to call it essential America today, because those are all the things that people need in life that are essential come from areas just like this and areas just like we are all from across this country. And we'll thread the needle when it comes to politics and finances. But let's start by doing a good job of listening and putting together a farm bill folks need. There were a few issues that came up, and this drives the staff nuts, but I know, and I apologize ahead of time. But I'm gonna water ski over some of these because I think they're important that you have the feedback on some of these issues that you've raised, because they were all critically important issues. I'm just gonna touch on just a handful and give you an update, so to speak. I mean, I think we absolutely have to be committed to bettering our investment in research, in the development of mechanization for commodities that don't have it today but can have it, given artificial intelligence and optics and all the things that are out there. And quite frankly, we need to invest in our land-grant universities. We want these universities to be able to attract the best and the brightest, and we want them to have the laboratories, the facilities, you know, to be able to serve this industry. On trade's so important, right? The Great Recession of 2008, 2009, it was trade that made agriculture really the only industry that didn't suffer. Because we had a robust trade. And we do support that in the Farm Bill with the MAP Market Access Program and the Foreign Market Development Program. And I would also, with all the commodities that are represented here, we may not, Ways and Means, maybe where trade policy mostly is, but we're your advocates. So we want to know, with each of the commodities, what do you see? Where would you like to trade? Are the partners that you have today, are they trading in good faith? Are they following the rules? If they don't, we want to hear about it, because we will be your advocates, being members of the Agriculture Committee. We also want to know what new markets are out there. Where do you think you should be selling blueberries to, or whatever the commodity might be, right? The watermelons, you name it. In terms of labor, that's another area that we're weighing into. There will be a Congressional Review Act that will be introduced this week or next week, which will really try to repeal what the Department of Labor just did. And they did it talking to themselves, obviously, because we've been over this country. I've been in 41 different states, and I've never found one farmer that's got this Department of Labor survey by which they raise this adverse wage rate. I don't know who they talked to. I trust they talked with somebody, but we just haven't seen it yet. And so the Congressional Review Act could repeal that. It only needs 50. It needs a plurality in the House and 51 votes in the Senate, and I think we need to make the case that wage increase could be a fast track to food insecurity in this nation. If farmers can't afford to farm because of the cost of those wages, then people are going to go hungry in the United States of America, and that's not acceptable. You know, we work hard on nutrition programs as it is. The other thing that we're doing is be announcing, I've been working with Chairman Scott, or Ranking Member Scott, and hopefully in the near future be announcing that under the rules of the House, we'll have 6 subcommittees, but we can do a task force. And although we don't have direct control over agriculture labor policy, that's the Judiciary Committee, we have an interest in it because of all of you. And so we're going to be, I'm hoping to soon here form an agriculture workforce task force that would have 3 objectives, bipartisan task force, 3 objectives. One is, what are the variables concerning the lack of certainty and reliability for agriculture workforce? Number 2, what are the implications for food insecurity? And quite frankly, number 3, what do we do about it? Up to including some legislative language we could propose. We don't need 5 or 6 bills when it comes to agriculture workforce. If we want food security, we need one bill that we can all rally around. So I wanted to share that with you. Climate, I just want to thank everybody here that is involved in agriculture. I know there are some in the past that have tried to put bullseyes on your back as climate criminals, whether you're growing crops or livestock, forestry. But quite frankly, you ought to be wearing the label of climate heroes. What you do, the research, the data is very clear. Talks about how American agriculture, which includes crops, livestock, and trees, you sequester 6.1, on the average, 6.1 gigatons of carbon annually. Now, I still don't know how big a gigaton is, but what's the abbreviation for gigaton?
GT.
There you go. So it's kind of a big deal, you know? Yeah. But I thought that was pretty funny when Doug told me that the first time. But the fact is, when you read the research, what we do is we sequester 10.1% more carbon than what we emit. There is no one anywhere in the world that does it better than the American farmer. One of the findings of this research I thought was very exciting. It basically said that if on this day, in April of 2023, we wanted to reduce greenhouse gas emissions around the world, there's only one way, surefire way to do it, and that's for the American farmer, rancher, and forester to produce more and export it overseas. And that sounds like a pretty winning solution to me. On conservation, I just want to mention, and this is something we did in a bipartisan way last Congress, and we finished strong with President Biden signing it. We passed a transformational piece of legislation that's called the Sustains Act. And what the Sustains Act does is allow private entities, corporations, individuals, whomever, if they would want to kind of get their climate credentials, you know, and show that they're supportive of a cleaner environment, a cleaner climate, sustainability, whatever you want to call it, whatever comfortable you're with language-wise, all you need to do is write a check to USDA. It's a public-private partnership, and all those monies get used to fund more conservation programs. And that's a tool that we successfully advanced and passed the Senate at the end of the last calendar year and has been signed into law. And then I've got just 2 other things. Hang in there. I know, I'm killing you. All right. I'm from a long line of dairy farmers. Where's our dairy? The dairy mom here, that she's here someplace. I tell people that through my veins flows milk with sawdust in it, being from Pennsylvania. And we're going to wait and see. The dairy industry, the consensus, not everybody agrees, but the majority do, that they want this dairy class 1 price mover, by the way, which would have been fine if COVID would not have hit. That's what screwed that up. Didn't see that one coming. USDA, or the dairy industry, has decided, instead of, at least initially, they don't want it done legislatively. They'd like to see it done through hearings with USDA, and that's fine. We respect the industry, but I will tell you, if they can't get it done, we'll work on it legislatively, because it is unacceptable. If the federal milk marketing orders worked, we wouldn't see such a loss of dairy herds and dairy farms on an annual basis. So wanted to just share that. And then just close with something near and dear to my heart, which is the nutrition title. As I mentioned before, farmers feed, nutrition matters. And there's a rural value. I know you all share it, and you share it with all the folks, my folks back home and all these districts here, districts represented here, and that is we help neighbors in need. And so the nutritional title is an important part of the Farm Bill. It's not to be separated out of the Farm Bill. Now, we're approaching that on a principle base. Basically, this is 2023, so some innovation and flexibility is important, and we should look at that as principle one. Principle two is financial independence. We've always had work opportunities. Some people like to call them work requirements, but it's actually work opportunities for folks that are struggling financially. We pay for employment and career and technical education under the nutrition title in the Farm Bill for folks who are struggling and need a job or need a better job. You know, almost a quarter of everyone that's on the SNAP program is working today. They are the working poor. They're working 1, 2, sometimes 3 jobs at minimum wage and no benefits. And there's some better jobs out there that we can help them obtain. Number 3 principle is program integrity. And that's something we look at with everything that we do in government, and we should do that at all levels of government. When it comes to nutrition, I will say, having worked on this issue for over 10 years, there's not a lot of fraud in the SNAP program. But we should have zero tolerance, because every dollar that is done fraudulently is a dollar taken away from probably a child living in poor circumstances and financially stressed that could benefit from it. And then finally, it's that healthy eating. And I can't think of a better place to talk about healthy eating than here in Florida with what you all provide, and it's much appreciated. So I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for working with us as we advance a piece of legislation, and we get this done bicameral, bipartisan, on time to address farm and food security, because that's what it's all about. I had one other note here, and I can't read my own writing. Hold on a second. And it's probably what I just said, tell you the truth. It says amen, that's right. It does say amen. Good job. Well, thank you, everybody.